All right, good evening, everybody. We're going to get started. Welcome to the November 25th meeting of the Zoning Board of Adjustment. My name is Jay Minkara, ZBA Chair. To my right is Vice Chair Josh Neely, and to his right is Member J.P. Boucher. Across the stage, we have Member Robert Shaw, Member Steve Lionel, and alternate Joseph Patry. We do have a full complement of 5 members this evening, so Mr. Patry can join in all of the discussions and deliberations of the board, but unless somebody, a member has to recuse himself, he won't be voting this evening. And I'd also note that to my left is Deputy Planning Manager Carter Falk. This evening we have 2 different types of cases in front of us. We have applications for special exceptions and application for variance. A special exception is a use that's allowed under the zoning ordinance so long as certain conditions are met. A variance is a request to deviate from the requirements of the ordinance. And in order for the zoning board to grant a variance, we have to find that granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest, that it would be within the spirit of the ordinance, that granting the variance would do substantial justice, that there would be no diminution of surrounding property values, and that owing to a special condition in the property, denying the variance would result in an unnecessary hardship to the owner seeking it. So just in terms of the order of business, I'll start off by reading a case into the record, and the applicant will be invited to come forward and present his or her case. Each applicant will have up to 15 minutes to make your initial presentation. You don't have to take all 15 minutes, but you do have that option. Following that, I'll ask if anybody in the audience wishes to speak in favor of the application. Each individual who wants to speak in favor will come forward to the podium, again state his or her name and address for the record, and we'll have up to 5 minutes to address the board. Following that, I'll ask if there's anybody who has any questions, concerns, or opposition to the application. Once again, each of those individuals will be invited to come forward, give your name and address, and have up to 5 minutes to address the board. Following that, the applicant will have the opportunity to come back up to the podium and rebut any of the, or I should say rebut or answer any of the questions or concerns that were raised. And we'll have up to 5 minutes to do so. Then following that, one person who spoke with questions, concerns, or opposition has the opportunity to come forward and have the last word. So typically the way we manage that when there are multiple people is you kind of have a chance to talk amongst yourselves and decide, who that person would be to come forward and have the final word. Following that, we'll close the public hearing and open up the deliberations of the board. The board could choose to act either granting or denying the application this evening, or in some cases where, say, additional information is needed, the board could continue the application to a future date. So it's overall the course of business. I do just want to note that for anybody who may be here for case number 1, that's the City of Nashua Division of Public Works, applying for a special exception to impact 2 other wetland areas. This is this is for public works. This is not for the fire department. But that case number 1 is postponed until the December 9 meeting. So if you're here for that case, we will not be hearing it this evening. Again, that's not to be confused with the application for the fire department, which is on the agenda this evening. So following that, any other changes to the agenda, Mr. Falk?
No, they're not.
Seeing none, then I'm going to call roll. Mr. Neely.
Present.
Mr. Boucher.
Present.
Mr. Shaw.
Present.
Mr. Lionel.
Present.
Mr. Patry.
Present.
And I, Jay Minkara, am present. So with that, I'm going to read the first case into the record that we will be hearing this evening. This is the application of Vasudev and Latha Srinivasa Dazari of 21 Hibiscus Way, requesting a variance from Land Use Code Section 190-31 to encroach 3 feet into the 6-foot required left side yard setback to construct a 12 by 12 shed. This is in the FUOD zone in Ward 5. Is the applicant present this evening? Yeah. Please come forward to the microphone. And just once again, give us your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Chairman and everyone. Thank you. This is the first time coming to this kind of meetings. Sorry, I'm a little wary. Hopefully it goes smooth. My name is Vasi Dasari, and my wife Lata is also here. As you said, we are requesting a variance. We decided 21 hibiscus. I prepared a notes, basically I will read it out.
Absolutely.
We are here today to request a variance to allow a 12 by 12 foot accessory shed to be placed with a 3-foot side yard setback instead of the required 6-foot setback for our R9 zone property. The dimensional relief that we are requesting is necessary because our property is unique and has special condition that the rearmost property, the southwest portion of the property, is wooded and it has a good canopy of oak and pine trees. We had that portion of land cleared when we built the house so that we can lay the lawn. But because of these pine and oak trees, that section of land was always barren and it looked so ugly for us. And then we decided to build a shed, and we find that that is the good place to place the shed because the rest of our yard is nice. We have vegetable garden and we have flower trees, and also lawn is growing nicely there. There's no point in putting there. That's the reason why we chose that back portion of the land. So granting this variance is helpful to us to enable reasonable use of our property. If we strictly adhere to the 6-foot setback, we would be forced to destroy existing landscaping or position the shed aesthetically in the center of our primary unusable yard space, which constitutes an unreasonable burden and thus unnecessary hardship. So what I'm asking is the shed we are proposing, we have a neighbor, say for example, this is, say these are house.
Yeah, you have to keep speaking into the microphone.
Sorry. So for example, these are house and this is the front portion of the house. We're asking to put a shed on the back side. There is a fence next to our house here. We're asking to put a 3-foot, we're going to go as close as 3 foot to the side. From the back side, it's like almost 9 foot from the back side. So I hear that the minimum requirement is 6 foot from the back side, but from the front, it should be 6 foot also. But I'm asking for 3 foot on the right side. We request this. We believe this request observes the spirit of ordinance because the shed will be fully hidden from the public view and substantially screened from our neighbors by existing mature trees and fencing. The purpose of the setback to provide light, air, and privacy is already achieved in the non-visible manner because of the trees surrounding this. Furthermore, this variance will not be contrary to the public interest and will not diminish the property values. We have intentionally selected a high-quality permanent structure from Reed's shed, ordering it with vinyl siding and window shutter colors that will exactly match our primary home. This thoughtful approach ensures an attractive and harmonious addition to our property, and also it looks nice from the other side also. For these reasons, because granting this variance resolves our unnecessary hardship, ensures substantial justice, and protects the spirit of our ordinance and public interest, we respectfully request your approval for our variance application. I'm now happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions for the board? Mr. Shaw?
From your pictures, I'm trying to make sure I understand, like you have the one where you have the red box and you show the 3-foot offset, but is the red box essentially the 12-foot by 12-foot footprint of your proposed shed? Or
I think, yeah.
Okay, and so, which is basically then it looks like it's essentially like pressure-treated lumber or whatever that's kind of demarcating around that. There is some, that you show the 3 foot to that, and I'm assuming there's some buffer to the other parts of this as well?
Yeah, the one which you're seeing in the photograph,
Yeah.
it's a 14 by 14 boundary, and our thing is going to be in the middle of it.
Okay.
So on the right side, there will be like 12 foot from my shed to the lumber, and also between the lumber and the fence is 1 foot. And the back side, from the shed to the back, it's like almost like 8 or 9 feet.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I did not bring any of my friends here to support my case. So
That's fine. You're free to have a seat.
thank you.
Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak in favor of this application? Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak with questions, concerns, or opposition to the application? We do have one letter, which I will read into the record. This is from Rakesh Prasad and Priyanka Prasad at 5 Daffodil Lane. I apologize for butchering the name. That's in Nashua, and these would presumably be abutters to the rear. Dear members of the Nashua Zoning Board of Adjustment, I'm a resident of 5 Daffodil Drive, Nashua, and I oppose the variance request for a 3-foot left side setback at 21 Hibiscus Way. My concerns include visual impact, proximity to the property line, and potential maintenance issues. I respectfully request that the board deny the variance. My primary concern is a potential for encroachment given the significantly reduced setback. A 3-foot distance from the property line leaves minimal buffer space, which may create access, maintenance, and boundary issues in the future. Additionally, the proposed 12 by 12 structure is quite large, and placing it so close to my property will have a negative visual impact from my backyard. This raises concerns regarding the overall aesthetics of the backyard and may potentially affect the value of my property. I would respectfully request that the board consider whether the shed could be placed on the right side of the property instead, where it would not directly impact my home to the same degree. If you would like, you have up to 5 minutes to provide a response.
Yeah, Rakesh and Priyanka, they are our back neighbors. From their property line, I have like 9-foot buffer. So it's not 3 foot as mentioned by, it's not 3 foot for his property line. It's my left side neighbor's property line is 3 foot.
Understood. Anything else you'd like to add?
So what I'm going to say is like, probably the letter, maybe he misunderstood where the property is located. Probably that's why he mentioned 3 foot thing. And actually, even for his property also, if you look from backside, I think it's going to look good. Right now, if he looks from his property side, my house is there, and then entire wooded area is in the other section of it. Yeah, I don't know how you want to look at it, but that's what it is.
Understood. Any questions from the board? If not, then you're free to have a seat.
Thank you.
And we're going to close a public hearing and open up the deliberations of the board. Thoughts from the board? Mr. Neely.
So this is not a nice square-shaped property. As we can see, it tapers in the back because they abut, their rear abuts 5 Daffodil. So it's normal in the Northeast to have a shed. I think most folks probably have a shed. At no point have we ever on this board heard that anybody's property values were going to be devalued because of a Reed's Ferry shed. As we know, their quality, I'm not trying to give them a plug here, but obviously I was walking in concerned to see this letter with concerns about property values being affected, and that usually drives my vote. That being said, I think it's important to note that the application was for a 3-foot variance from the side of 23 Hibiscus. So where this shed is going to sit is not within the rear setback that would affect 5 Daffodil. So while I don't want to discount this letter, I think it's important to note that that may be a little extraneous to what we're looking at here. So I am in favor of this application. I do believe also that property, if I looked at it properly when I was walking by, it looks like there's a hill back there. There's only so many places they can put a shed. It doesn't make sense to put it in the middle of the yard. You're going to lose out on full use of your yard. So for those reasons, I'm in favor of this application.
Other thoughts? Mr. Shaw?
I've struggled with this one, I still am, and I do kind of appreciate the fact that, yeah, I think the reality is the neighbor to the rear they're not being affected really directly by the side yard setback. I guess I'm just so I think that is less impactful than I thought it was going to be, originally. But I guess I'm not convinced that either a lesser footprint shed would not be a reasonable option as far as like a 9 by 12, and then the setback could be met, or that there still isn't some margin to still get closer to meeting the full 6-foot setback, even with a 12-foot by 12-foot. Maybe that does require taking a tree out or something like that, but I guess I just didn't really see, I can't quite come to the hardship on this one, so that's where I'm at the moment.
Other thoughts? Mr. Boucher?
Like Mr. Neely stated, I drove around the neighborhood a few times and went on Daffodil, and it took me a little bit to look through a couple houses down to look at an angle at the property in the back, and there's definitely this berm that exists. Mr. Shaw is right. I don't know exactly how many feet we could get over to the berm, but having gone around the property a few times, again, I don't know, lesser size shed could be there, but I think, again, from my point of view, it's on the left side is the impact. That neighbor's not here. And again, the unique shape of the property, and it's this like almost triangle type lot, and it's kind of in the back. So, again, I do see why the shed would be placed in that corner of the property. Again, we don't walk in somebody's backyard, so I couldn't exactly see where that berm starts. But there was definitely a berm I could see from the Daffodil side. So I think, in my estimation, I think it's a reasonable ask, so I'm going to support the application.
I was also on the fence. I think for me, what kind of puts me over is I'm taking, because I think like Mr. Boucher, I did not walk in the backyard, so I'm accepting the testimony that it would be challenging to move it over because of the wooded area. Granted, you could cut a tree, so cutting a tree is not necessarily a hardship. So that's certainly an arguable point, and the terrain. But I think overall, could there be a smaller shed? Yes. 12 by 12, I wouldn't say is unusually large, although it's certainly a substantial shed. But I think given the shape of the property and the wooded area in the corner, the potential impact of the slope, I would come down in favor. Mr. Linnell.
Yeah, I pretty much echo Mr. Mancara's comments. I noticed there's no fence or anything else between this property and 5 Hibiscus. And yeah, I mean, there's going to be something there that's going to be visible, but as has been said, sheds are normal. They're usually placed in the back corner of a property. And we've accepted sheds even closer to a property line than this. So I would vote in favor of it.
Does anybody want to make a motion? Mr. Neely.
Okay, I would like to, like to make a motion to approve the variance for Vasu, Dev, and Latha Srinivasa Dasari, owners 21 Hibiscus Way, Sheet C, Lot 2698, requesting variance from Land Use Code Section 190-31 to encroach 3 feet into the 6-foot required left side yard setback to construct a 12-foot by 12-foot shed. This is in the FUOD zone in Ward 5. Granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest in that many of the houses in this same development already have sheds. This house does not have one, so it would be in their interest to be conforming to the rest of the neighborhood. The spirit of the ordinance would be observed, primarily because the location of the shed footprint is being driven by the berm in the back of the property, and the property is a irregular shaped property, so it is much smaller in the back. It does taper to the back. Therefore, there are limited places for a shed to be placed, and in the northeast, in this area specifically, it is normal to have a shed somewhere near your back property line. Granting the variance would do substantial justice, once again, because these applicants would be able to have a shed placed in a normal place where many other sheds in this neighborhood are located, which is at the rear of the house towards the back of the property line. The values of the surrounding properties, in our opinion, would not be diminished. We did have a letter from a rear abutter concerned with the property values, but during discussion, I did bring it up that we have never seen any negative property value created by a Reed's Ferry shed. This is a brand-new shed that's going to be placed in this area, and we did receive plans to what that shed is going to look like, which is similar to, once again, sheds in this neighborhood. As to unnecessary hardship, the shape of the property and the fact that there's a berm in the back of the property is driving the unnecessary hardship. The board did have discussion about making a smaller footprint or potentially cutting down some trees. We do think that in this case, due to the, once again, the shape of the rear of the lot and the berm, it does not make sense to require the applicant to cut down one tree or two trees. In addition, a 12 by 12 foot shed is not unreasonable for a size for this area. So for those reasons, I make a motion that we approve this variance.
Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Boucher. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Opposed by Mr. Shaw. Your variance application has passed. I didn't mention this earlier, but there is a 30-day window of appeal, so just be mindful that somebody could file for a motion for reconsideration in that 30 days, but otherwise you are free to proceed with your project. Good luck. Next case is the application of the City of Nashua. Chief Steve Buxton, Nashua Fire Rescue, is the applicant, 25 Teak Drive and 840 West Hollis Street, requesting the following. First, a determination whether a material change of circumstances affecting the merits of the application has occurred, or that the application is for the use that materially differs in nature and degree from the special exception for an access driveway that was denied by the Zoning Board on October 14, 2025. And if so, requesting a special exception from Land Use Code Section 190-112 to work in a 40-foot other wetland and wetland buffer to construct a water line service from Teak Drive to the Four Hills landfill property for the proposed fire training facility. This is in the R9 and R30 in GMZ zones, and it is in Ward 5. Just for a note of explanation, when the Zoning Board has acted to deny a case previously, we have to go through what is, and somebody reapplies for another similar case on the property. The Zoning Board has to go through what we call a Dover v. Fisher determination as to whether or not there's a significant enough change from the last application for us to hear it. So we're going to go ahead and have that discussion as a board, and if we find that there has been either a material change in circumstances or the application is substantially different, then we will proceed to hear the case. So we're just going to kick off a conversation of the board for your thoughts on whether or not you see a material change of circumstances. Mr. Lionel.
Yeah, I do think this is materially different. The previous one was to build an access road with vehicles going in and out, and this is simply to run the water line. Any disturbance would be temporary, and given that the Concom had previously approved the wetlands crossing, I don't see any reason to I think this is materially different.
Other thoughts? Mr. Shaw?
I pretty much concur with that. I think that the fact that the access road is no longer part of this makes this a very different case.
Yeah, I would agree. I think, in fact, the access road, the fact that it was a road was a major factor in the prior case, which is not present in this case. Any other thoughts? Anybody want to make a motion?
You go ahead, if you know how to word it, I don't.
I'm just going to wing it, but, so I think I'll skip the whole description of the case again, but
I would agree.
regarding the application for this 25 Teak Drive and 840 West Hollis Street. The Fisher v. Dover question as to whether or not the board feels that there is a material difference in this application versus the one that we denied in October 14th, 2025 hearing. The board does feel that there is a significant difference to this case versus the previous one in that the access road is no longer part of the proposal, and therefore I move that we approve that consideration and allow us to move forward with hearing the application for the work itself.
Is there a second, Mr. Lionel? Any discussion? If not, all those in favor of granting the motion to hear the case, essentially? And that passes unanimously, so I am assuming, Attorney Perlman, you are here to represent the applicant.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, good evening. Mr. Chairman, you are correct. Andy Perlman, attorney with Prunier and Perlman here in Nashua. I am here on behalf of Nashua Fire Rescue and the Department of Public Works with respect to the wetland special exception coming off of Teak Drive to permit a 10-inch water line to service the new fire training facility that is being proposed. I have two preliminary matters. One is a handout, and one is some comments from a few weeks ago. Mr. Chairman, if I may, Mr. Shaw, I was here a few weeks ago, and you expressed your frustration with the city postponing the DPW garage without any explanation. There's a good explanation for that, but the city could have handled it better. The city could have explained that in order for the DPW garage to start the permitting process, we have to get the fire training facility squared away, because the DPW garage is going where the fire training facility is now, facing from West Charles Street, facing the new DPW garage, office building. The garage is going to go behind, kind of kitty corner behind that, right where the fire training facility is. That should have been explained in the postponement request. It wasn't. Could have been done better. That's the explanation.
Thank you.
But I was sitting in the audience. I just wanted to call that out. My second preliminary matter, Mr. Chairman, is I have a handout for the board of a couple of a plan or a map from GIS and a couple of documents. They may be repetitive already in your packet, but I just want to make sure you have them. In your application packet, as prepared by City Engineer Dan Hudson, there was the application itself for the wetland special exception, addressing the wetland criteria. Also included was the GOV Environmental Services wetland report dated May 19th, 2025. That's the very same report that was submitted to Conservation Commission and to this board earlier for your October hearing, where the application for this was denied largely because of the road. And I will be coming back to the criteria when I speak to this request. But Brendan Quigley, the environmental scientist, he issued his report with respect to the road and the water line. And again, we just have the water line here tonight, so we have much less of an impact that we're talking about. And what we're talking about specifically, Mr. Chairman and members, we are requesting temporary impacts of 400 square feet of wetland impact and 2,075 square feet of buffer impact. Again, when the water line is installed, we expect that the area where it was installed is going to grow back over time. And Mr. Chairman, exactly what happens is this. The DPW, who plans to do this themselves, they don't intend to hire a third-party contractor. DPW cuts a 20-foot swath through the trees coming off of teak. And you may recall that the Goslin Street is a paper street that ends at the landfill. But right where that paper street is a big vernal pool. So we're shifting the water line out of that right-of-way out of the right-of-way and away from the vernal pool. So that's why you see a little bit of a jog between the Gauze on Paper Street, the vernal pool, and where the water line is being proposed. But what the city does is they cut a 20-foot swath, enough for machinery, a backhoe, men, and the crew to get out on site, dig a trench 5 to 6 feet deep below the frost line, install the water line, backfill with the same material, and then replant. And again, we expect, that will grow in over time. When I was at the Conservation Commission a few weeks ago, the Conservation Commission added 2 conditions to their previous approval, one of which is they want to see a landscape plan, and so we have to go back to them. And the Conservation Commission was very specific on the types of plantings that they're going to want to see. And so we have to go back to the Conservation Commission, not necessarily for approval, but really just a courtesy. Here's the landscaping plan using the native species that we're going to be installing. And so once all that's done, that's the only activity we're going to see out there. We don't expect people to be using this water line area. We don't expect bicycles or walkers. It's not really a walking path by any means. It's just going to grow back in over time and kind of blend in with the area. Before I get to the the special exception criteria, Mr. Chairman, I did want to speak a few minutes on the on some opposition comments. But let me go very back to the beginning because I got ahead of myself. With me tonight is Chief Buxton. Chief Buxton is here to answer any questions the board may have about the fire training facility. Also with us tonight is Commissioner Tom Kelly, who does want to spend a few minutes with you explaining the importance of the fire training facility for the city. I don't expect that would take long, but let me if I could just talk to some opposition concerns, because I did receive a number of letters and emails and petitions, and there seemed to be 4 categories. One was there were some comments or some criticisms that the Conservation Commission got it wrong, that they didn't have the proper information in front of them. They based their decision on incomplete information, and frankly, that's not true, because you will recall that the Conservation Commission had this before them 3 times with respect to the road and water line, and they gave a positive recommendation. Then I was there a few weeks ago, on November 5th, where we were talking about just the water line, and we got into a lot of details, again, about the plantings, about native species and what's going to be coming back. So Conservation Commission takes their task very seriously. 2 times they gave a positive recommendation to this board, and with additional conditions for my hearing on November 5th. So I think the Conservation Commission, their decision should be respected. And another comment that I've seen is people like the idea of directional boring. Horizontal directional drilling is a technical term, where we dig a large pit 10, 15 feet deep, that's about 10 to 15 feet wide. You bring in machinery and you drill underneath, in the ground underneath. And that's all well and good if the world had an unlimited supply of money, but we are presenting what we believe to be, what the city believes to be the most practical and the most least invasive method with the trenching and the backfilling and letting the whole thing grow over. So that comment is out there. We don't think it's practical for this particular project. Another comment was there was some comments about visual impact with the cutting and the clearing of trees. We're going to see the dump, we're going to see the fire training facility. It's just going to devastate the area. I don't think that's all true, because if you look at 2 things. First off, my handout that I gave you, the very first page of the handout is, I have 4 different colors on this particular site that my rudimentary engineering skills is presented to you. In red, I have 900 feet, and that's taken from Google Maps, and that is the closest point from the backyard of Teak Drive to the fire training facility, and it's all woods in there. And granted, the leaves come down in the winter, but this is still a healthy buffer, far more of a buffer than most folks have around there in their homes. The blue is the water line that I have, and that water line is my rough estimate of where the water line goes. But if you look at the plans with the application, I'll show that in a bit, the water line goes straight across that small lot that the city owns and then takes a jog to the south, I guess, so that the first 100, 120 feet is a straight shot for the water line. Then it turns, and then it turns again, making its way over to the fire training facility. So with the cut, with the turn and the pathway, with the pathway growing over, we don't see that, over time, we don't see that there's going to be the visual impact that some folks were concerned about. And finally, I saw a couple comments about water pressure, and I had the very same thought yesterday as I was thinking about this thing. So this morning I emailed Penachuk, and the last item is an email from distribution engineer Zach Sagendorf from Penachuk, and I asked specifically, will a 10-inch water line on Teak impact the water pressure to our neighbors on Teak and then in the surrounding neighborhoods? And you can see Mr. Sagendorf's answer: a 10-inch water line at Teak to the fire training facility will not adversely affect the water pressure for neighbors at Teak and the surrounding neighborhood. Respectfully submitted, Zach Sagendorf, Penachuk Water. So those are the big comments that I saw. There may be some other concerns, but those are the big comments that I saw coming from the folks in the neighborhood. Now, what I provided to you, a couple things. The map. Oh, let me just talk about this. My map again. The heavy black line that you see on the map, that's the new route how the fire trucks are going to get to the site. At the last hearing at Concom, reading through meeting minutes, there was some discussion that the roadway to get the fire trucks to the site would need a whole heck of a lot of improvements, would need a lot of cost to get there. And I think what people were talking about, I'm not 100%, but I think what people were talking about, where having yellow, there's a dirt path, like a little old logging road, that's used from time to time, but it's a dirt path. It can't support a fire truck, and it kind of weaves its way around Trestle Brook. Right? So if we were to try and improve that and permit that, we would have far more wetland impact than what we're talking about tonight. That was the path I think maybe was originally contemplated, but what I found out yesterday from our meeting at DPW was that the fire trucks are going to be taking this heavy black line around. It's not ideal, but it's there. It doesn't need any improvement. It holds trash trucks now toward the back of the dump where the trash trucks are going. So that's actually, like I said, cost savings that it can use that. My packet tonight has the 2 letters from the National Conservation Commission. We have no objection to the Concom's suggestions. You have a letter from Pete Tedder, distribution engineer manager, who says that water pressure is coming from Teak or Twilight. We're not coming from Twilight, but coming from Teak, are far superior than water pressures coming from West Hall Street, and that eliminates the cost as well. And then at the end of it is the letter from Zach about the water pressure. So with that, Mr. Chairman, if anyone had any questions initially, I was just going to run through the special exception criteria, if you don't mind. I'm not going to read verbatim the criteria. I'm just going to touch on the points.
And just as a note of warning, you have about 3 minutes. So best not to read it verbatim.
Excuse me. If that's the case, Mr. Chairman, then I'm not going to recite the the application itself. I did want to say this, though, because the city's special exception application does not match 190, 134F for the special exception criteria. So if I could just briefly touch on that, and then I'll leave the application to you folks and have Commissioner Kelly speak momentarily. So 190-134F1 are the 5 criteria for the special exception. The requested use is listed as a special exception in use matrix. That's true. Use matrix use number 277 allows utility water lines throughout all districts in Nashua. The requested use is not going to create any undue traffic. We have no traffic at Teague. Traffic is now moved over to West Hollis. We're not going to overload any public water system. We have the evidence from Pennachuck. Special regulations, the wetland special exceptions, section D. And then finally, we're not going to impair the character of the neighborhood or the immediate area. And we don't believe we're going to, because once this water line is installed, the city is not going to be using Teague whatsoever. And so with that, Mr. Chairman, you have the full application. You have the all the information from Mr. Hudson, Brendan Quigley. You have the Natural Heritage Bureau letter that says there are a few animals out there of concern in the area, but measures are being taken to address that. So I'm happy to answer any questions of the board, or I would have Commissioner Kelly come speak, but I'm trying to be respectful of our time.
Questions from the board? Mr. Shaw.
And this is, maybe I'll start with you, Mr. Falk, and it might also go to you, Attorney Perlman. I'm feeling a little confused at the moment in the sense of the advertised and even the cover of the application does reference section 190-112, but then the special exception criteria is listing 190-115B. So can you help just kind of clarify that, make sure?
We usually use section 112 because that specifically states that a special exception is required to work in a wetland or wetland buffer. But any of those sections in the wetland ordinance really will work. 115 will work, 112 works, so we just used 112.
Okay.
It's all perfectly
All right.
fine.
I just wanted to make
It's
sure
not
we
like
didn't have
anything
any
different.
little,
Section 112 is the start of the wetlands ordinance.
yeah.
And so it's kind of a generic catch-all for advertising.
Yeah, okay. And then the other thing, I just wanted to go to through your testimony, I think it's pretty clear to me, but essentially there will be no permanent impact to any of the wetland. The wetland buffers that are being impacted, it's all temporary, right?
It's all temporary. So the ditch gets dug, line installed, backfilled, revegetated, and what that does is it allows water flows to continue at their natural grade, and so everything's temporary, and then everything grows back over time.
And I guess just one other thing that had come to mind also when you were talking about that, there won't be any sort of trail or anything inviting people in, and that's obvious. I don't think anybody wants that, but has there been any discussion about any sort of even just like temporary fencing or something that would help kind of, especially maybe if there's a need while vegetation is growing back, to discourage any, ingress?
That, Mr. Chairman, is at the board's discretion. If, I'm authorized to say that if the city, either through this board or the planning board, wants some type of gate or temporary fencing, the answer is yes. All right. After our Concom meeting, I met with some of the neighbors, and there wasn't a hard decision either way. And if the neighbors all say, yes, we want a gate, fine. If they don't want a gate, that's okay too.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
I just wanted to continue on that, because I was sort of wondering about, I don't remember now, is there any kind of fencing along the border? There isn't now?
No.
Okay. So the idea of putting a gate there, it would be kind of strange, but they could put some temporary fencing to block off access to the path and yeah, okay, that's fine.
Yeah, it could look, it could, so the downside of some type of permanent gate is that it draws attention to
Yeah.
something that's not otherwise there.
Yeah.
So again, this board's discretion, planning board's discretion, either way is okay with us. So Ms.
Any other questions from the board? Seeing none, you're free to have a seat.
Okay, if I could call up Commissioner Kelly just briefly to,
I assume he will be somebody wishing to speak in favor?
yes. Thank you.
Absolutely. Is there anybody who wishes to speak in favor of the application?
If I don't get the opportunity, happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, as well as members of the community, my name is Tom Kelly. I live
If you wouldn't mind just
over on
speaking into the...
Underhill Street in Crown
I'm
Hill.
sorry, Commissioner, if you wouldn't mind just speaking into the microphone so we
I'm
can-
sorry. My name is Tom Kelly. I live over in Crown Hill on Underhill Street. Just to make sure that the members of the board know, but the community know, that I am not a member of the fire department. I am an elected official as a representative of the city to be able to represent.
I'm sorry if I could just ask once again that you speak into the microphone.
Oh, and can I further clarify?
Yes.
All of your commentary is really supposed to be addressed to the board.
Fair
So
enough.
We'd appreciate it if you just direct it that way. Thank you.
What I'm here to do today is be able, on behalf of the Fire Commission and the members of the city, to be able to talk of the importance of the fire department. I'm not an expert in firefighting, but as a representative, I'm kind of an expert citizen witness. In my 2 years on the commission, I've been to dozens of fires, medical events, served with shifts with the firefighters, and the one thing that I've learned as a commissioner, the three decisions that we get involved in that are the most important and the most profound are those involving the people that we hire, the equipment that's purchased to support them, and the training that the firefighters go through in order to be able to execute the job in maintaining safety of the city. So I know that there's a lot of discussions about wants and don't wants, but what I was asked to be able to do is really be able to, on behalf of the commission, talk how important it is that this training facility be established and continue to move forward. First, training is more important that they have a realistic environment that they work in. Having a training facility outside of the city limits will take them out of the community that they serve, and it would dissolve and dilute the training that they conduct. Having the facility here in the city is going to allow to have more realistic training in the environment that they're going to work. The training within the city limits also keeps the crews in district. If you take crews out on a quarterly basis or routine basis for training outside of the city, they're not readily available to be able to support calls that come in as they come in. And that could be a significant issue in influencing the safety of the city. Cost efficiency and ISO impact. A Nashua-based facility significantly reduces travel time, fuel consumption, vehicle wear, and rental fees. It also directly supports the city ISO rating, which affects insurance premiums for residents and businesses. The ability to conduct required specialized training. A dedicated facility is essential for live fire operations, technical rescues, hazardous material training, ladder operations, and fighter fire survival skills. NFPA standards require this type of hands-on training, and it cannot be safely or consistently provided without a purposeful site located in the city. The commission does fully acknowledge the concerns of the abutters of Nashua Fire and Rescue, which has operated in the current training facility for more than 40 years with no record of complaints. The proposed location provides an even larger buffer than what exists today. We're committed to being good neighbors and to operating the facility responsibly with appropriate safeguards and communications.
And if I may, you have about 1 minute left, so just be mindful.
We respectfully ask for the board's support so Nashua Fire Rescue can continue to provide the highest level of service to the residents of the city.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any questions from the board? You're free to take a seat. Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak in favor of the application? Seeing none, is there anybody who'd like to speak with questions, concerns, or opposition to the application? Please come forward and state your name and address for the record.
I am Rodi Arantes from 3 Jalori Lane. I have written quite a few documents to you, the board, and I couldn't have said it better myself. I think what he said is exactly how we feel. We feel like they should be well-trained, and they should have all the resources they need. And I don't think anyone here will say anything against that. We are all for the fire department having the resources they need. I was actually going to quote the fire chief, but I'll explain that, I'll use his own words because I have the recording here of the last hearing, the reasoning of why the DPW is actually rescheduling. And it shows here, let me just play here for you guys to hear, because I want everyone to understand.
A couple of things that Alderman Jetty said. The garage placement of the DPW is not driving this. The growth of the fire department, the growth of our community is truly the driver. Yeah, we are in close proximity to each other over there. There are some days where we're tripping over each other, but we could exist with the addition of the garage over there.
So clearly, they could stay there. There's no real push for them to get out of there. I think that is something that has been kind of driven to push people to think that either we give them the water and the water line and the road that they originally needed during the last hearing, but it was either that or they would have to drive all the way to Concord to get their training, right? And we all know that that is not the case. They could either stay there, which, they could possibly stay there for extended periods of time, or as I sent one of the documents that I sent you guys, there's a proposed location that they could actually use in the city and get their own space to get their own long-term planning, as the city should be really thinking about that long-term planning rather than the short-term solutions that are going to either spend $10, $15 million into this new facility that is temporary once again, and in a few years, once the DPW needs that space, they're going to get kicked out again, and then we're going to, as taxpayers, you guys also are all going to have to pay for this. So we're going to run into this again. In regards to the disturbance being temporary, that is not the case at all. What they stated was that once they take out the trees and they clear, and one thing that I have to say against the decision that was made at the beginning of this hearing is that there's not enough material evidence that this has actually changed much. All that has changed was really that they took the 40-foot opening with a road. They kind of just, and even the drawings that you can see there, they just stripped the asphalt out and they just put a 20-foot opening. They're not letting that regrow. They said that they cannot let that regrow back because they want to make sure that it's clear for them to maintain the pipes. And it's going to turn into just a clear road, which is going to damage the wetlands. It's going to damage all the location. And if you think about it, it's a 20-foot wide opening. Just on the wetlands, it's going to cross about 40 feet. That's 800 square feet. But the total length of the road is roughly 1,100 feet. That totals to about 22,000 square feet of area that is going to be totally cleared and never going to be able to regrow because they want to keep it clear. And during the last hearing, it's funny that he mentioned, the lawyer mentioned, that he spoke with us downstairs. We literally said we do not want a gate there because, once again, it does not conform with the neighborhood. We told him that. I don't know if he thinks that there is some ambiguity there, but I'll tell you again, we do not want a gate there. That does not conform with the neighborhood. And the reason he also told, and we know that they want to put the gate there because once that is cleared and opened, we know that bad actors are going to drive in there to do whatever they want to do because it's going to be open. It's a 20-foot open. That's wider than our road, the Teak Drive. It's about 18 feet wide. That is 20 feet. Like, it's wider than our road. You can drive pretty much anything into there at any time of the day or night to do whatever you want. And we do not want that in our neighborhood because it does not conform. And I think I sent quite a few documents explaining on criterion 4 and 5 why this does not meet the criteria. Another thing that I would like to mention is, I don't think anyone said that the Conservation Commission was missing any information. I think that they themselves said it, that they were missing information. One of their members on the Conservation Commission mentioned that they did not feel like they had enough information to make a decision, and that was when they were given a long speech and coerced into voting. And that was part of one of the petition that I submitted on behalf of over 150 people that have signed it. And I was hoping that you would vote into that too, to see if you could maybe not use that Conservation Commission positive recommendation, because that wasn't in good faith. I and over 150 people in our neighborhood feel that. And regarding the pricing, I think the lawyer also brought up the pricing being substantially high. I got a quote, I also included that. I got a quote from a company, a local company that does work all over Massachusetts. They drill under 93 and on a daily basis, crossing, piping under, and they never had a problem. They said that they do that on a regular basis. This would be a very small job. They came outside and looked at it with me, said it shouldn't really be a problem at all. And the price per foot was literally the same as Penachuk said that it would charge for that type of work, which was the price that I got when I was actually looking at the pricing for the Ridge Road to get an idea of the cost that would be incurred to actually get that location, which was another of the documents that I sent in, a full proposal for that. So-
And you are running out of time. If you wouldn't mind just wrapping up your comments.
And regarding the clearing, it was said that we shouldn't really be able to see the path and the facility. And from right now, if you stand on the road, because it's getting close to winter, the leaves have fallen, and you can see the dumpster that is at the same location where the fire training facility hydrants are going to be installed. So you can see that standing from the road.
Great. Thank you for your
very much.
comments. And next,
Good evening, members of the board. the zoning board.
you're free to pull that down if you'd like to.
I know, I'm so short you won't be able to hear me. Most of the people know me anyway. My name is Paula Johnson, Alderman-elect for Ward 5. I'll be seeing you probably a lot with my constituents. I live here, 15 Westbourne Drive in Nashua. And I'll tell you, I think this is a sad thing that people have to come out and always fight for their neighborhood. I wanted to read something, if you don't mind, from one of my future constituents who was unable to be here tonight, from Lee Atkins. She's the president of Westgate Village Homeowners Association. I represent the community of 198 single-family homes, 159 townhouse condominiums, and 60 garden-style condominiums. We all care about the neighborhood. We chose our homes, and by the extension of the city of Nashua. Westgate Village Crossing is the main road through Westgate Village and intersects with Gosselin Road, which intersects with Teak Road. Many of our residents walk these surrounding streets as I do. We are very familiar with the neighborhood, its neighbors, and we have developed a very close-knit community. This is a serene and picturesque, family-friendly neighborhood with abundant trees and wildlife. To preserve our West Village community and the community of our neighbors, I would like to express my strong opposition to this project as it is non-conforming with the neighborhood we know and love. I would just like to point out a few things that I'm listening to here tonight. You know, everything is no big deal. No big deal. We're going to cut a 20-foot swat and dig a trench. That's no big deal. It's a big deal to the people in this neighborhood. They bought these homes, and they never expected that this was going to happen. No big deal. No big deal. No big deal that you're going to take down trees, and then we're going to replant with soil and do coverings. That's no big deal. But it's a big deal to these people in the neighborhood because they're going to feel that this is really non-conforming now because you're digging that ditch, you're taking out their trees, their foliage, their vegetation, and it is going to be close to that little wetland, and we know that there's endangered species. I talked about that the last time. There's never a big deal because no permanent impact to wetlands is going to happen. We're going to just take all this out, the trees, that makes the area beautiful and loving, and we're going to backfill it and put some seedling on there. Maybe we'll put a fence so nobody can go there. But we have shown, and the neighborhood has shown, that you can do HDD drilling, which won't impact. And matter of fact, I spoke to somebody in the planning department today, which makes this argument even more if you're going to do something like this. I don't know if the attorney looked into this with the DPW, but I was told that when they have to correct any problems with the sewer in the river, they have to go under and do HDD drilling because they can't dig up a river. You can't dig up a pond. You have to do something that's going to preserve the wetland and the integrity of that area because there's laws about wetlands. So when they say they can't do it and it's going to cost more money because we're going to bring in DPW to do this, but yet DPW does this if they have to do anything in the river. It does not make any sense here. So I hope the board's going to kind of investigate a little bit more on this HDD drilling, because when the attorney talked about that, and I guess I feel this, and probably the residents of the city feel this way, and I know this isn't part of the zoning board, but I resent the fact that the city hires an attorney, the fire and rescue, to go against us, we, the taxpayers, who pay for all this. And they're fighting against the neighborhood, who are begging the board, please don't disturb our neighborhood. And this is just not here, it goes on all the time, that residents have to come in and beg for something. So I think the board really needs to do more homework, probably, and disregard some of what the attorney is saying about the HDD drilling if the city does it already. And this way, it will not disturb the wetlands, it will not disturb the mature trees, because once you take down those mature trees, it takes 20, 30, 40 years to get mature trees again. So now, the neighborhood is not the same, the values are not the same on the properties because you've disturbed everything, and you know what, in my opinion, it does not conform to the neighborhood anymore. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else who'd like to speak? Sir.
Thank you. My name is Jay Lustig. I live at 14 Olympia Circle in Westgate Village, and I've been there for just over 40 years. There are a couple of things that I'd like to bring up. Over the last 40 years, there's more and more traffic in the landfill, which results in a lot of noise in the neighborhood as well. Early morning gunshots to scare off the birds, trucks from other towns coming in, commercial waste products coming in. And one of my concerns, and you even mentioned this when the other gentleman was here talking about the shed, was the visual effects of the neighbors, right? You're gonna open up 20 feet through the woods, through the wetlands, and give everybody a really nice view of the landfill. Plus, taking out any trees, wild growth in that area also acts as a sound barrier that's not going to be there any longer. So that's my piece. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else who wishes to speak?
Good evening. My name is Andreas Weiss, 6 Cimarron Drive in Nashua, in Westgate Village. My background is in engineering, previously trained in hazmat training. Truly appreciate what the fire department is up against, and I respect what you do. But what hasn't been discussed here is the mentioning tonight about hazmat.
If you would mind just keeping your comments addressed to the board.
Sure.
Thank you.
Hazmat training that occurs, the chemicals that are being utilized in that training to extinguish the flames, and the effects that has on the environment and the community. If you take a look at the training, program details, safety protocols, and record retention associated with fire hazmat training, it's extensive. Why? Because of the health concerns to the fire department and the firefighters. It also trickles into the community. The neighboring community, all of Nashua, frankly, because Nashua is downwind of this training facility. So my question is, have we actually looked at that, the impact of that? And I'm sure that those exercises have occurred in the past. Is this 10-inch line actually larger than what is currently in place? And is this facility larger to take on larger activities as a fire suppression training exercise location? These are just questions we should consider. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak with questions, concerns, or opposition? Ma'am.
My name is Mary Ann Howell, and I live on Teak Drive, 35 Teak Drive. And as Rhodey said, I'm 100%, in support of our fire department. This has nothing to do with their need for training. But what I heard tonight and what I saw in the application was a description of a temporary disruption, that we cut a 20-foot swath backfill, replant. I heard walking path, it'll grow back in over time. Wetland buffers, the impact is all temporary. Those are all quotes that I heard tonight. And what I read in the Conservation Commission recommendations was that you plant some wildflower mix and, seeds. This is not going to replace trees that have taken, 40 years to grow. It is going to change a lot because all of that is going to get wiped out. So, the town, the city of Nashua has an article on wetlands where they talk about it being a valuable natural resource. And, the general legislation requires that they ensure the protection of valuable wetland and buffer resources, prevent the harmful filling, draining, sedimentation, or alteration of wetlands and buffers, and prevent the destruction or significant degradation of wetlands and buffers, which provide flood and storm control. So, I feel that this is being totally disregarded, and it's being described as a temporary disruption, but it clearly won't be. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak with questions, concerns, or opposition?
My name is Renee Kalagaropoulos. I'm at 31 Teak Drive. My property abuts the landfill. My concern is with the tree cutting. I can see the landfill now. I took a video this afternoon. I can see one of the green trucks driving through. You cut 20 feet wide out of those trees. It's going to impact our homes. It's going to impact our property values. We need more trees, not less trees. Thank you.
Hello, GOV Zoning Board. I'm Hannah Nedsbala. I'm in Westgate Village at 6 Valencia Drive. And I want to just say I'm in complete, I don't want this to happen to the people on Teak and the air environment that comes over from the training facility if they manage to get a road in there. And it's going to take, as everybody else has said, it's going to take years for those trees to go back. And we're not convinced that it will actually be the same as it was and not have the training facility in there. I would like them to look at other places that might have much better, not so many people around and be on city land. I don't know if that exists, but please reconsider not doing anything to this area. Thank you.
Is there anybody else who wishes to speak with questions, concerns, or opposition?
Hi, my name is Donna Bushy. I live on 5 Jalori, and I've been in this neighborhood. I actually lived on Teak, and then we moved to Jalori, so we stayed in the same neighborhood, but it's been like 43 years. And I find that there's a few questions that I have. At the last meeting, the conservation, I thought someone had asked if the water could be piped through the road that they're already working on in the landfill, and then it was a problem of, I guess, cost effectiveness, because they might need a pump to get that pressure the same as they would coming up from Teak. But I'm wondering about that, if there's any other way that they can, get water through other than coming through Teak. Also, I've heard that it's going to be a lot of different towns now coming. I'm wondering how many towns, like, what exactly do they do with training? Are they just using hoses up there? Are they setting fires? Or is there going to be, and part of this, part of my view is also that, in looking up buffer zone definitions, you know, the trees are a huge part. A healthy zone will have a mixture of plants, shrubs, and trees, you know, and that will improve air quality and screen views, reduce noise and pollution, you know, coming from a facility. So I know the last meeting, they did say they would cut the 20-foot swath of, you know, going up to the, but there would be no more trees planted because the roots would be in the problem of the piping, and so the trees will be just wiped out. It'll just be some, yeah, shrubs and that kind of thing, wildflowers maybe. You know, when I first moved in there, it was quite bare because it was a place that could not be built on. And the builder you know, we had to go back and try to get things going. But I mean, this has been 40 years of beautiful barrier, I guess, beautiful, natural, and cost-effective. But what's the cost to the environment, the animals, the people that live in the neighborhood? You know, it's, you know, I just feel that this is a very poor plan. Thank you.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Janice Chulin, and I live on Main Dunstable. And I just wanted to put on the record that I oppose this plan. I do support and value the fire department. My family and I have benefited from their services when our home caught on fire. So I believe in what they have to do. What I'm asking is to reconsider the location. I heard you earlier, Mr. Josh, say that property value drives your vote. And one thing to consider from what everyone has given testimony over is on that the people who are impacted did not choose this, yet it will impact their property value. When we hear comments that it's going to give them a straight view of the where we take our trash, we heard that it's going to increase noise pollution, which is a big concern. I'm on Main Dunstable, and when we purchased our home, we had to consider the drawbacks of living on a busy home, which meant that our kids wouldn't be able to ride their bikes. We would have to think of other ways to stay healthy. We couldn't just walk outside our door to walk. But we made these adjustments with the conscious decision that we knew what we were getting into. Many of the other homeowners didn't have that choice. And so I just wanted to put on the record that I oppose this plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak with questions, concerns, or opposition?
Hi, John Collins, 20 Teak. I live directly across from where this is going to happen. When we first met on the road being put in, I was very relieved that it didn't get approved, because it would have, if I looked out, I would have saw the road right in front of my yard. But here we are again. Same plan, just the road is removed. I'm calling this phase 1 of the road development, because everything's the same. It's just a water line, 20 feet. It's easy just to increase that and put a road in down the line if we see the need to do that for, say, maintenance and all that. So that is my concern here, that this is just a pre to the road being developed. Also, I feel that we are not being heard, the neighborhood themselves. We had a petition signed by nearly 200 people that oppose this project. And I'm sure there's more. We would have more people here in opposition if it wasn't Thanksgiving week, of course. And it's funny how it falls. This meeting falls on that. If we were heard, I mean, a lot of us have done a lot of research on this, a lot of research. And if they would actually listen to us, rather than try to steamroll us with this, we may come to a suitable conclusion. But we haven't been really heard through this entire process, or actually even told what was going on. So I'm hoping that you guys can help with us being heard with our opposition to this, and with a new plan going forward, that we can find a way to get the fire department what they need to do their jobs. So with this swath through the woods, the fire training facility will be viewed straight from my house. And with the smoke and such, and with the leaves all down, it'll be easy to see that, and easy for whatever is done over there to come over into our neighborhood. And that is a big concern of mine as well. So I'm hoping that you will oppose this plan so we can come up with another plan with all of us working together, so we can go ahead and help the fire training. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, George Sturgeon, 15 Cimarron Drive. Hopefully, I'm not going to repeat everything that's been said, but I agree with all of it. Hopefully, we're clear that it's not just a temporary disturbance. You're taking down trees. That's permanent. One thing that was just said that I didn't even think of is that path, maybe it's not a straight path, maybe it zigzags like the lawyer said, but it probably does increase noise coming in, potentially. Because the trees, you're not going to grow trees back, so just putting shrubs. So I think I'm going to go back to Roddy Antares' letter to you, which has a requested action section, and he kind of gives options. One is to, if you have to approve this, to stipulate using the horizontal drilling method, which doesn't disturb wetlands, doesn't dredge, doesn't down trees. It's maybe too simple of an approach. And so if you're going to approve it, stipulate that. And he also wrote a stipulation to remind this application in and of itself and its approval of the denial on the road, so that if anything ever comes back up on that, we've got a stipulation. It's clear in here that you're referencing your old opinion, no road. The other option he has is table it, so that the city can go back and actually look at this HDD drilling, come back to you, have another meeting, talk about it, and present a plan that isn't dredging, removing trees and all that, and it's using the drilling machine. I know a builder in Merrimack just got a large development. He's using HDD to gain access to water there. It actually has to go under the highway. I would rather see you deny this. That still gives the city the chance to come back with an HDD drilling plan. In Roddy's submittal to you, there's plenty of, and the testimony here today, there's plenty of reason that you can decline it based on your Rule 4 and 5. Sure, the impact of the neighborhood isn't as great as a road, and there's no safety issue because fire trucks are coming through and kids are biking, but it does change the character of the neighborhood. So 5 is still in play. So I would ask you to deny this. That still gives the city a chance to come back with an HDD drilling approach, have engineering go look at it. I don't think the cost is going to be a significant difference for them. Doesn't disturb any wetlands, very simple approach. If cost ends up being an issue, personally, I don't really care. DPW is spending $40 million on a new garage, probably going to be 50. What's another 100 grand? So hopefully you'll deny this.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak? Seeing, oh, sorry.
Good evening, gentlemen. Hello again. My name is Dan Rogers. I am 4 Hazel Avenue. Tonight, I mean, as everybody's been saying, it's definitely proven that I think once again the city has to go back to the drawing board again, because every time they try to think of something that is going to be beneficial to the department, the fire, because there's not one single person within our neighborhood or any neighborhood will never deny to the fire department to ever for training. And whoever says so otherwise, I'm sorry, is very foolish of thinking that we are ever going to be against it. We never will be, ever. But once again, as I once said, and I think I will say it one more time, because I truly believe that it is the short term again of them staying at the Four Hills. It's going to be short term again, they'll move again, and sooner or later, the Four Hills will be filled with all of our dump. Because as I was told one time that I believe that the Four Hills had to try to actually find a place within like a 5 to 10 year term plan, because once they reach a certain fulfillment, they will have to move themselves to find somewhere. As the previous alderman once said, that Nashua has many property areas, especially within industrial areas. I once mentioned once before about Northwestern Boulevard. That still is a very huge area, and I know once again that it is close to the airport, so yes, there is some federal regulations that will have to be passed, but I mean, also within that area, there are other industrial buildings that are there as well. So I believe back to the city that, once again, I think they should go back to that drawing board, but once again, we should truly think of a long-term for the fire department. And this, I truly believe that they should have their own facility within an industrial area, especially to an industrial area that even like, for example, that deals with hazmat materials. So they could properly train to any fire department within the future of any developments. Thank you again, gentlemen.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak?
Start by asking, am I mistaken when you said we each had 15 minutes as an opening statement?
5 minutes.
5 minutes?
But if you wouldn't mind, no, the applicant has 15 minutes. Each person commenting, whether
That's
it's in
fine.
opposition or to speak in favor, has 5.
Thank you for that. I understood it as each side had a 15-minute opening statement. Thank you. Tonight's title.
Name and address.
Yes, sorry. Mike LaRock, 22 Teak Drive, looking right across the street from this proposed opening. The words temporary disruption really shook me tonight. So with that, tonight's title is Words Matter. Last week, it was Faith in Action. Having a hard time with numbers 2 and 5. Can't see how numbers 2 is met with this issue. But this is a lot of congestion in the neighborhood and doesn't think it meets that criteria. The board does not feel the 2 criteria is met. It's always a tough decision where you have a full neighborhood show up, an alderman, some potential aldermen, and passions are high. The 5th one about being out of character with the neighborhood, we had a lot of testimony tonight that the existence of this access road as intended use would be detrimental to that neighborhood. For point number 5 about the character of the neighborhood, this is a very quiet neighborhood and doesn't think this use is in line with that. Several neighbors testified that that would be out of character. Have more of an issue with point 5 about the character of the neighborhood. This one I just can't support. Struggle with this, especially criteria number 5. This is really burdening a residential neighborhood and can't get past the degree to which the neighborhood would change. If this were just for fire department use, perhaps, but the unknown is what would attract from other communities. There's already about 5 or 6 other fire departments that are expected to use the facility besides Nashua. No matter what, it's going to be a change to this neighborhood. I wish the city can find another location because I can't support this. The board does not believe the 5th criteria is being met. Use will impair the integrity and be out of character with the district or immediate neighborhood in which it's located and would be detrimental to the health, morals, and welfare of the residents of the city. It does go a bit towards the fact that the landfill has always been a tricky proposition for the city. It saved the city a lot of money because we don't pay a lot for fees and brings in revenue from tipping fees. But it's set right in the middle of a dense residential area, and there's been a lot done through the years to assure residents that the egress and ingress for that landfill will be happening on West Hollis Street. So this kind of breaks that bond or that understanding to some degree. I find that troubling. Board feels that it's not tenable for the quiet residential neighborhood this is proposed in. I don't see how the board could separate the intended use of the road from the application. And with any special exception, the board needs to understand the nature of the use, and I'm not sure I do. The board feels that this is not tenable for the quiet residential neighborhood where this is proposed. Motion is to deny the special exception based on all 5 criteria not being met in the belief of this board. It was seconded. Motion carried unanimously to deny, 5-0. I'll leave it at that point.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. One last comment. Mr. Perlman. Yes. Your dad, Earl? Uncle Earl. I knew the man. He's a terrific man. Tell him I said hello.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who wishes to speak? Seeing none, we did receive several letters, I think, and emails, as was noted. The comments, I think several of the people here who spoke did also submit written testimony. I'm not going to read through all of these. I will just acknowledge that we did receive a letter of opposition from Paul and Rosalind Sander at 1 Twilight Drive. Rodi Arantes, as has been mentioned, did provide a few different communications, and again has been noted particularly focusing on criterion 4 and 5 of the special exception criteria, and does believe, again, has been said that there be a negative impact to the character, does believe that there's an alternative, has been mentioned, is the horizontal drilling, which we've spoken to a few times. Again, a second communication from the same. Also, as referenced, there was a petition that was submitted, and from appearances, it was submitted on behalf of 154 residents of the area, potentially other places as well. I haven't checked all of the addresses. We received an email in opposition from John Azelius and Mary Ann Howell, 35 Teak Drive. And again, noting that believing that the criteria has not been met, that was their primary point. We received a letter of opposition from Charles Fisher, 2 Laredo Circle. Actually, 2 communications. And we received a letter of opposition from Peter and Renee Kalgeropoulos, 31 Teak Drive. A letter of opposition from Mike LaRock, also particularly noting the horizontal drilling alternative. And a letter of opposition from Lee Atkins of 12 Valencia Drive. Those are the written communications that I have in my packet. If I've missed one, I apologize. Do note that even though I didn't read all of those communications, they are a part of the record. Board members have all received them and have read them. So given that, I'm going to turn it back over to the applicants if they wish to rebut any of the comments that were made, noting that you do have 5 minutes.
Mr. Chair, I'm wondering if you could indulge me to ask a couple follow-up questions to Attorney Perlman that have to do with the special criteria wetlands criteria?
Absolutely. When he's done with his 5-minute rebuttal, I think, yeah, we'll open up to questions from the board.
Okay. All right, part of the reason I wanted to ask is I feel like it could drive some parts of the response, but we can just go ahead and I'll just use the question.
Mr. Chairman, again, for the record, Andy Perlman, or Prunier and Perlman, I'm going to pause, have Chief Buxton answer a couple questions. There were some questions raised about hazmat issues, so, and then I'll come back and we can have a discussion.
Good evening, Steve Buxton. I'm the Fire Chief, National Fire Rescue. I just want to address a couple concerns that were raised in opposition in regards to hazardous materials training. When we do conduct hazardous materials training, we do not use live agent. It's basically make-believe. So there is never any live agent used on the training grounds ever for our hazardous materials training whatsoever. All of our training that we conduct is, especially live fire training, is strictly falls under NFPA 1403. That's the National Fire Protection Association. Strict standards. We can only burn clean wood, like pallets and hay. So everything that we're burning out there when we do conduct live fire training is all natural and not finished wood even can be used. So I just wanted to clarify that for the board.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chief. I did have a couple points, but perhaps we could answer questions.
No, I'm fine. Just go ahead, Attorney Perlman.
Okay. I just had a couple points, a couple observations. Let me get my notes. You know, when I said to the board, and when the application came to you, and it said these are temporary impacts, the temporary cut, the temporary buffer, the temporary wetland impacts, I believe that they truly are. By way of example, I grew up in South Nashua on Farmington Road. Many years ago, the city came to my parents and said, we need to run a water line. It's a water line or sewer line, I forget exactly. But through the middle of your yard, through some trees, through the back brook, and we needed to tie into some lines of the country club, and that then tied into the wastewater treatment facility. And so the city did that, and they took a bunch of trees, they dug up our yard. My years of mowing went to wayside, and they took trees in the back, and you drive by there today, you would never know there's a water line or sewer line in there. These things grow back. It takes time sometimes, but things grow back. I don't expect a 20-foot cut through the trees is going to permanently impact anyone. I believe that it will grow back. Over time, some things take longer than others, but I believe it will grow back. I believe that we have addressed the criteria of the both the special exception and the wetland special exception piece. We have a special exception application. You know, I've been told that if we need to move the fire training facility so to allow for the DPW garage. You know, if that's not 100% accurate, that's what I've been told. But again, it's this wetland special exception application that's before you for really minimal impact to the neighborhood. There were some concerns, and I heard these concerns come after the Concom meeting, that this is just the start, then the city's going to come back and put a road in. And I think a road, if the city were to come back to this board for wetland impacts for a future road, would be subject to Fisher versus Dover. I don't think that gets past Fisher versus Dover. I think you made a great decision with respect to just the water line, but if the city were to come back for the road, I think that's done. I think that's that decision's been made, and will stand. I think that's all I had. I didn't, you know, I appreciate the neighbors. You know, this is something coming into their neighborhood that they're, you know, that's new to them. But I really think the city backing off the road and just doing the water line is a fair compromise that should be considered. We believe we've addressed the criteria, and I'd be happy to take questions.
Questions from the board, Mr. Shaw.
And I might note, I'm going to reference this that's in our packet, and so this is the map, the color print.
Okay, I'm not sure I've seen that, but I get it.
Okay, and it was basically, I think, it's still from the original application in the sense of as part of the, all the supporting documentation, but from what I just want to clarify at least one thing before I go the rest of the way with my questions, but, so there was the proposed roadway before, and there was going to be the water line with the roadway, and I understood that those were pretty much going to be kind of concurrent with each other, and now what's being basically came back to us is just the water line, essentially following that same spot. So I think this representation is relatively accurate, because I think that's more or less what you even wrote in, like, but.
I would agree with that.
So, but my engineer hat went on during all the questions and concerns and opposition testimony. And so what I started wondering about, and this might need to go back to engineering, but when I look at wetland A and wetland B, I believe there's a way to do this without crossing wetland B, and I also think there's a way to do this essentially starting in from essentially where the paper street is, but then making the angle and following the gap between wetlands A and B, so that'll help in multiple ways. There will only be one wetland crossing, because obviously you have to get across either wetland A or then you'd have to ultimately end up at wetland C, but there's no way to get in from Teak Drive without crossing a wetland at this point, unless you went all the way down to where it makes a corner and you're at people's homes. So as far as the city-owned property, there's one way, there's only, I believe it could be done by crossing one wetland, not two. And if it was an angled cut-in, it would also have a much better visual barrier in place, because then instead of, I'm sorry, I think it's Mr. LaBarca, 20, but 22, thank you. He wouldn't have that entrance right there, and in fact, he would have still some buffer of trees and whatever vegetation, and most of like the real kind of cutting in would happen more or less kind of across from Goslin, and would be even less impactful. So I'm thinking, basically, and this is why maybe we do want to table this, I think you might want to take this back to engineering and say, can this be done? Because right now, I'm not sure I could buy into that the wetland special criteria is being met in terms of the least impactful way. I think there's a better way of doing this. And I think what happened, and it makes sense to me, there was a road here, and people are just saying, well, now we'll just do the water line, but like there was already a proposal, we'll just go in that same spot. Well, I don't think it would have made sense with the roadway to try to have done that. But now, when you're only talking about digging the trench to put a water line in and covering that back up and it's gone, I think this could be a little bit of at least a win-win in terms of less visual impact, less impact to wetland, and so.
Mr. Shaw, if I may, is that a question, or are you just commenting on your feelings on the application?
I guess I put it as a question in terms of, can it be taken back to engineering, or do you know if this was discussed, or, was any of that considered?
Your Honor, may I please approach? Just want to be clear.
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
So what, hearing Mr. Shaw, and I took the water line only plan, and I kind of sketched, so what we're talking about is a proposed water line that goes in between, that comes off of the, that intersection of the paper street and goes in between the two wetland areas.
Yes.
Right?
Yep. And it could then probably still cross where it was proposed to cross wetland A.
Right.
Because that still looks like it's about the narrowest spot.
Yep, I would agree. Well, let me say this. I'll take this back to engineering, and perhaps we continue this hearing. I will say that the larger wetland that goes through the paper street That's all a vernal pool. And the vernal pools have a 100-foot buffer, not a 40-foot buffer. So we want to stay away from the vernal pools as much as possible. So I'm happy to take this back to engineering, because I think that's a fair comment, and I don't think that was actually considered. And so I do want to flush that out and see if there's any merit to that. Brendan Quigley, our wetland soil scientist, I guarantee you he's going to say, no, 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 stay away from the vernal pool as much as possible. However, it's a fair point. And I would be willing to, I'm willing to do two things back to engineering. Are we willing to take this suggestion back to engineering? And secondly, we could provide you more information on horizontal drilling. Because I spoke this morning with, you folks know I represent developers. I spoke with some developer clients, and they said, you can do horizontal drilling, but the cost is astronomical. Notwithstanding what someone else in the audience may have come up with. But nevertheless, I think it's a fair question. I don't know what was considered. I wouldn't be surprised if I come back with the exact same plan because of the vernal pool, but I don't have that answer.
And maybe I would suggest that perhaps even if that turns out to be part of the problem, perhaps consider still some sort of angled entrance such that you do your best to provide existing vegetative buffer to the Teak Drive residents.
Sure.
So that would be, that could still be, if what I was looking at doesn't turn out to be viable, maybe there's still something that could be proposed that would still be less impactful. So at least I think that's worth asking about.
You could come at it from the other side.
And yeah, I think maybe this is where, I tried to just kind of solve the problem here in a few minutes, but it needs to be looked at it with, better understanding by, other experts.
That's fair enough. That's a good comment.
So.
Other questions from the board? If not, I'm getting the sense that we may be looking at a motion to continue the public hearing. In which case, I don't know that it would make a sense to wrap it up. May I, I'll say, does anybody wish to make that motion?
I would like to. I'll make a motion that we table this case to allow the applicant to get some determination from engineering regarding the items just spoken about, regarding whether the path for the proposed water line could be put either between wetlands A and B, coming off of the Paper Street intersection, or some other angled ingress for that, as well as provide the applicant an opportunity to investigate the horizontal drilling feasibility as well. And I guess proposing that to December 9th, or is that not sufficient?
No, with the holiday, if we could go out a month, please.
So it would have to be
the first meeting in January is January 13th.
January 13th would be the logical date.
Yeah, the team to get all the information together.
That's fine. Is there not a second meeting in December?
We don't have, that's one.
This is it. December 9th is the only meeting.
Okay.
So January 13th it will be.
So if that's the case, if that motion is approved, please know that we'll probably be pushing back the garage.
Yeah, understood.
Yes, that is understood. Is
We'd have to
there
get something in writing.
Is there a second to that motion? Seconded by Mr. Lionel. Any discussion of the motion? Mr. Neely?
Yeah, so I'm not going to vote in favor of pushing this back. We've had these people up multiple times. Nobody's ideas are going to change here. We could vote tonight to do an angled entrance. I'll be honest, driving by that neighborhood today, wetland B and wetland C is not a wetland right now. It is bone dry, with wetland A being, it's deep. It's a little mini pond there. So it's not going to change my vote at all. I think we're just pushing back multiple cases, and I think I would like to have the discussion tonight about this. While I appreciate your ideas there, looking at this colored map, I can't think that a biologist is going to come in and say, move it closer to that legit wetlands, farther away from that dry land that's there now. It's just wetlands during a couple months of the year, so I am not going to vote in favor of pushing this back.
Other thoughts on the motion? I think my sense is I would certainly be prepared to discuss this evening, and I would be prepared to vote on this evening. However, we have had a request for additional information. The applicant seems amenable to providing that. And so I think given that, I would support a motion to continue, since it appears that the applicant, has no objection. I don't know what other folks think. Mr. Patry?
Yeah, I'm not voting on this as the alternate, but I would also be in favor of a motion to continue. I think that getting some more information on this is a good idea.
Any other thoughts?
From a staff perspective, we wouldn't re-advertise this since it would be tabled to a date certain in the future. So we would not send out all this additional package information. The only thing we would send additional to the board is any new information that we get from the applicant. Just any new information, that would be it. I'd suggest you keep all your package together.
And if I may just add, assuming the motion passes, I would hope that the applicants would have a project engineer or engineer who could speak to the technical issues and a wetland scientist available for the next hearing, so that we don't find ourselves in a situation of not being able to answer questions that are really on point to the application. Any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor of the motion to continue to January 13? Opposed? Opposed by Mr. Neely. The motion passes. So this hearing is continued until January 13.
Can I ask you a question? With all due respect, when we get an opportunity to maybe convince you otherwise, just because we have a simple idea going on an angle, we might all be still opposed to that. We make our opportunity to say to you.
You will have that opportunity. The hearing is continued to January 13th. That's a decision of the board. The hearing is continued until January 13th.
Suspect that we have like 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Mr. McCarron, can we take 5 minutes?
Yes. We're going to take a 5-minute break prior to hearing the next case.
I'm certainly sympathetic to Mr. Neely's wish of not continuing to push it off, and also the, I'm sure the residents. I agree. There's a question of, we've had complaints that the decisions were made based on insufficient information. And
we're trying to provide some of this information that's been brought up.
So, in particular, there was the criteria of, was this done in the least disturbing method? And it's not clear to me that was actually thought about, so.
Well, I think it was originally, but I think it was when concert with the road, it's different.
Can I leave a sheet of paper with you?
I mean, it sort of gets back to what Mr. Shaw said on the voter meeting. And what I said is that I keep feeling that the city is shoving things through without,
Well, the case is over, so I'm not going to get into any particulars now. All right, well, I'll take it.
Stuff from last time, so that's, that way, okay. I could see that one especially, but even I didn't vote, so like, they're not doing the fight any different than the last time.
Thank you.
And then I read that, then somebody like me goes, well, wait a minute.
Is it full out there? Is it full out there? No. Nobody's out there? First good. Yeah, I was just going to ask you if you're ready for Thanksgiving and everything, yeah.
We go to Boston and have other people come. You go to restaurants.
That's smart, yeah. We're having a small house, so just about 12. We normally have about 22, 23 in my son's house, but we're going to have it at my house instead, so it's a little different this year. Normally that's what we do. But anyway, well, if I don't talk to you, I'm only in for a few hours tomorrow, and then I'm out.
Decide what you're going to do yet?
Oh, that's right, yeah.
I've already started my part-time consulting thing.
Oh, really?
I had the first meeting with that yesterday. And I've sent my resume off to.
I'm not going to talk about the case.
Companies through contacts that, through all people I used to work with.
Yeah.
So that's the stuff, see what happens. We meet with my coach tomorrow. Next, so moving forward, trying to see.
Yeah. So you're feeling good about it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of excited.
Yeah.
Not sure where it's all going to lead.
We're trying to do the right thing. I know.
It's good. Change is good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We all care.
Probably weren't thinking like that a year ago, right?
Yeah. That's why we're all here, and that's why there's a lot of passion happening. So, yes, but I really appreciate it. Nice to meet you. Love to hear about this. Just wanted to let you guys know that I really appreciate what you're doing. Love you.
Thank you.
I wrote you.
You're an engineer, aren't you? Are you an engineer?
Yeah, how do you know?
Yeah. Hard to figure that one out.
Surprise, surprise.
It's just that, after the last year that we had, I just got like so into it, right? So, and I plowed through a lot of documentation, a lot of the city maps.
Yeah.
Finding that other location.
Yeah.
I didn't sleep for a few days, just like having fun. It was really just getting immersed into it.
Well, I appreciate the light reading you gave me last night.
Should join the board.
Rodeo, it's nice to meet you.
Join the board. We have
Yeah.
openings.
Yeah, no, that would be, I'm very, very much considering. I really enjoy it.
Should. It's really interesting work. I mean,
It is actually kind of fun.
you learn a lot. about-
You don't get paid, but it's really
You learn
interesting.
a lot
yelling.
about what's
That's
going
fun.
on in the community.
I think there's a lot of people that look at it as exceptionally boring.
Four openings, Walt.
Those of us that are on it,
We need 4 people.
find it some kind of curious satisfaction.
Because the alternates are people who can,
Well, you'll still vote and talk and everything, but
and I can be here, I can listen to it, and I can just get more involved. I think this was my first time ever getting involved into, reading and actually trying to understand what you guys are doing.
This is what got me involved too. It was a case that came up a couple of years ago, and that's what started me down this rabbit hole. And I love it.
It's
I love
usually-
doing this whole
it's
thing.
usually that way.
I like learning.
you really learn a lot what's going on in the
You
city.
have no idea how many people I met just to talk about this. or just going down the
154?
street, Dunkin' Donuts. Close to that.
It's not just city
Lots of
jobs,
coffee.
it's not just city jobs, it's things with signs, with subdivisions, with homes and multifamily. It's everything. So it's the whole, everything we do.
Yeah.
So it's this whole entire culture.
No, maybe I'll fill it out tonight when I get home.
Yeah, you should.
Because I saw the link there for the application.
Well, you feel free to watch the rest of the meeting if you're interested.
I'll just go out and talk to some people, but I'll be back to the session.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to read the next case, the record. So if anybody wishes to chat on other items, if you wouldn't mind just stepping into the hallway, we'd appreciate it. Next is the case of Heidi St. Hilaire of 4 Rowley Street, requesting the following. A special exception from Land Use Code Section 190-112 to work in the 75-foot prime wetland buffer of the Nashua River to place a 10-by-20 shed in front of the property and a 6-by-10 sauna in the left rear side of the property on an existing cement pad. And 2, a variance from Land Use Code Section 190-31 to encroach 18 feet into the 20-foot required front yard setback for a 10-by-20 shed. And 3, a variance from Land Use Code Section 190-31 to encroach 2 feet into the 6-foot required left yard setback to install a sauna. This is in the R9 zone in Ward 1, and I'm guessing you are the applicant.
I am, hello.
You wouldn't mind just repeating your name and address for the record?
Yes, my name is Heidi St. Hilaire. I'm here with Joe O'Brien. We both reside at 4 Raleigh Street, which is in the Broadcrest neighborhood, and as you just said, it's R9 residential. My plot is F387. I know this property well. I purchased it in 2013 because I grew up actually at 2 Raleigh Street, and I wanted to be close to family. My sister Jackie lives at 2 Raleigh Street, so she's my direct abutter, and she is here tonight. So I've been on Raleigh Street for about 50 years. I'm 55. We moved there when I was 5 years old. It is beautiful. I think I have the best plot in Nashua. It's right on the river. We have, cat nine tails, lily pads. The birds are incredible. I absolutely love the river. And the project I'm doing will not harm the wildlife, vegetation, or water. This summer, we completed home improvements. We put new siding and windows on the house. I included photos in the application of before and after. Now, I want to place the 2 accessory structures. They're prefabricated. They will not be built on site, just delivered and set in place. When I applied for the permit is when I learned about the prime wetland buffer to be 75 feet away from the water, and the property setback to be 20 feet away from the front property line. Due to the unique circumstances of where my house was actually built in 1969, the 75 feet and the 20 feet overlap. So essentially, I couldn't get a permit to place a structure anywhere on my property. The entire property is in the buffer. So I'm asking for a special exception or variance to encroach into the setbacks. So the first structure, I did bundle both of them, the utility shed and the sauna, into this request. So the first is the utility shed. It's the 10-by-20. I want to put it on the front west corner of the property. I did have an old tent garage there that was 20 feet. That's why I chose a shed that's 20 feet. We disposed of the tent garage. And that tent garage used to be like 2 feet back from the road, so that's why I put 18 feet into the setback. But the more we talked about it, we think we can pull it back 5 feet. The reason we can't pull it back any further is there's a very mature tree. There's 2 very mature trees in my front yard and lots of roots in my front yard. But I do think the west end is the best place for the utility shed in the front yard. Even though it is close to the street, it is a dead-end street. There's limited to no traffic. My only abutter is on the east side, and it's away from the water. It's within the 75 feet. The ground is dry. We purchased rock and blocks to level out the shed. I did go to the Conservation Commission meeting on 11/5, and then the commission did a site visit and a vote on 11/12. They did give an unfavorable recommendation and suggested a second site on the east side of my property. This would be a secondary choice for me. The east site is close to my direct neighbor, and we would have to cut a tree limb of hers. It's also very close, essentially right next to my driveway, and we have 4 cars between me, my boyfriend, my son, and his girlfriend. They also recommended that we have a boat on a trailer because it's out of the water now, and that we move that, so they wanted us to move that into the driveway. It's very congested on that east side. I mean, that's where the mailbox is, that's where there's 2 trees there, and the light post with the wires going to my house. If you look down the street, the west side, there's nothing there, so it would essentially give more curb appeal, and my house would kind of look like an L-shaped ranch, even though there's a tree in between. So I still really would like it on the west side. My hope is that you will approve the site on the west corner. The sauna is a 6x10 sauna. I want to put that into the backyard. There is a slab that's already there, cement slab that was put in the 70s. We had an old shed there that was rusty, like an old Home Depot shed we disposed of. So it's just a flat cement slab that's 10 by 10, and so the sauna is 6 by 10 to fit there. That is within the wetland buffer because my whole backyard is, and probably within the 6 feet to the property line. It's hard to know. There really isn't a marker there. There's like a divot. But it would not impact the abutters' property. So the Conservation Commission, they were fine with the sauna. They did want me to add bushes and ground cover on the slope that goes into my backyard to reduce runoff and erosion. So I created a landscape plan and I submitted that to them yesterday. And they also wanted me to move the boat. I already said that. So my arguments are, the spirit of the ordinance is to keep the wetlands and property safe and in good condition. These accessory structures will improve the property and do no harm. They will increase and improve the look of the home and the neighborhood and provide curb appeal. They will not impact the wetlands, will not impact the river bank, will not cause erosion, will not impact habitat of any species, plants, or trees. And they will not impact absorption of water because I'm not installing any new cement. The cement slab is already there. For fairness and substantial justice, right now it's unfair that everybody else in the neighborhood can have a shed, and due to the unique circumstance of where my house was built, I cannot. Because of the buffer and setbacks, I cannot use my own property, and it is unique to my property and a special condition. My lot should be grandfather claused to be able to use it. Also, at one time, I did have that old rusty shed and a tent garage. It seems unfair that I can't replace them with better structures. I'm trying to upgrade and improve my property. So granting the variance, justice would be served, and it would allow reasonable use of my property at no cost to the environment, neighborhood, or general public. Just some extra notes about the shed. It will improve the look of the property, clean up the yard. The style, color, roof line match the home and character of the neighborhood. I did include a picture of the shed. My new siding is like a slate gray, and the shed is also a gray color with white trim. The road is short. It's a dead-end road, limited to no traffic. Both of these structures, no electrical, no plumbing, no foundation that's new, no abutting, so I really feel that the variance is necessary. The sauna is on a pre-existing slab and will do no harm. The benefit of the sauna, for me, is it's something that I've always wanted. It's beautiful and healthy. My cultural background is Finnish, from Finland, and the Finns always build the sauna before the house, so I've had that in my mind that I want a sauna. My grandparents in Maynard, Mass. Had a sauna when I was a kid, so I'm getting it for me and my mom and my sister to use, and I'm going to convince my boyfriend Joey that he'll like it as well. In summary, my understanding is the prime wetland is designed to assist with determining project proposals, but you, as the zoning board, can make an exception. If you look at the property, the plot plan and photos, I believe you will agree that these are the best places for the structure. So please grant me the special exception or variance. That's all I have.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Mr. Neely?
So if you were to follow the Conservation Commission request and move the shed to the, what did we say, it was the east side?
Yes.
Is that out of the 75-foot?
No,
Buffer zone?
it's still within the 75-foot. It's not as close to the road, the 20-foot.
Okay.
It's back, I think, like 24 feet.
And your neighbor at 3 Rowley also sent us a letter concerned about snow melt, where the snow plows are going to leave the snow if you go forward with the shed on the west side. I mean, what's your thought on that?
Well, they plow directly down the dead end and push the snow to the end. You can actually see the barriers where they leave it. It shouldn't affect the snow removal at all. They'll just plow right by like they always did when I had a tent garage there. So I don't think it will impact snow removal.
Okay, thank you. And by the way, this is one of the most unique properties that I've seen in Nashua with where it sits on the river. It is really neat, so congratulations on it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions from the board? Mr. Lionel?
Yeah, so where are you going to put the boat?
We're gonna have to move it over with the cars because they wanted us to move it. I think they're afraid it might leak gas or oil or something. I don't know, it's on a trailer, and that's where we've always stored it when it's not in the water. So,
I'll just comment that you could have a shed, you could put it where you're planning on putting the sauna. So there's, in terms of, the neighbors have a shed and you don't, you could have one, so there's nothing preventing you. I know that you also want a sauna, but
yeah.
The shed could go, where that pad is, and you could enlarge the pad to have a slightly larger one. That's always a possibility.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm done.
Mr. Boucher?
Can you tell me how long ago was it that the old shed, the pad that you want to put, when was that taken down? When was the last time you used that? How many years ago or
The
months
slab,
ago?
probably like 5 to 7 years
Okay, all
ago-ish.
right.
We took it down. We've been having like chairs there, and yeah, that's what it was. Yeah.
But it had been there for a long time.
Yes, correct.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. My point was just trying to improve the property. Now that I know this process, anytime I remove something old, then I have to go through conservation and all of the things. So I was bundling the two requests together.
Other questions from the board? Thank you.
Thanks.
Is there anybody who wishes to speak in favor of the application?
Hello, my name's Jacqueline Hackett. I live at 2 Rowley Street. I did write an email, but I'd like to present it in person. I did not disclose that I'm also Heidi's sister, but now you know. I am in full support of the 3 requests that Heidi St. Hilaire of 4 Rowley Street is requesting. Ms. St. Hilaire has done numerous improvements to her property in recent years to update and make her home more energy efficient and visually appealing. These 2 structures will contribute positively to the neighborhood aesthetic, while at the same time improve the appearance of her own property. The structures will have no impact on snow removal, trash pickup, or the view of the Nashua River. I have no concerns about item number 3, which references the request for the variance for the 6-foot required setback in the area of her yard that abuts my property. That's it. Thank you.
Questions from the board? Right, anybody else would like to speak in favor? Anybody who'd like to speak with questions, concerns, or opposition to the application? We did get one letter, I think has already been referenced, if I can find it, in all my stuff. And that was a concern specifically, thank you, related to the snow removal. So this is from Agaya Shane.
He works with us. Shane works with.
Okay. Shane's the first name. I'm sorry. Shane Agayo is the employee. It's from Herb Covey, and at 3 Raleigh Street. I see there was a code variance issued for Raleigh Street for zoning code 190-31. This does have an impact on me. They had put a temporary shelter shed a few years back. In the wintertime, the plow truck pushed the whole street's worth of snow on my side, where the snow at the end of the street to the edge of my driveway. Not to mention the snowbank in my driveway, so I would not get a deep, big puddle in front of my mailbox and driveway. I was declined. Oh, I'm sorry, they asked to repave it. I missed that sentence. Et cetera. He's concerned about the water going, mounding and going down his driveway. Thank you for more inconvenience I have been given.
Then there's a second, at least the very last page of the Staples one we got.
Same person. Apologize for not having all my paper here. I'm sending this email in case I cannot make it to the public hearing. I object to issuing the special exception for installation of the 10 by 20 shed in the front yard. My objection is due to the impact it will have on me over the years moving forward. The shed installation is basically across from my driveway. In the winter, the plow trucks push the snow to the side of the street I live on, at times leaving a 2 to 3 foot snowbank in front of my driveway, while the driveway for 4 Raleigh Street has a 6-inch to 1 foot snowbank. You may ask how I can say this when the shed has not been placed yet. Well, not too long ago, after they moved in, they added a portable storage, a portable shed/garage in the same area. So the plow drivers would push the snow onto my side of the street, so as not to make the shed/garage unacceptable, I think it means inaccessible. I've had a snowbank encroach to the corner of my driveway, and on their side of the street, the edge of the bank was past their shed/garage. Judging by all the wanting to getting a special exception leads me to say one was never applied for in the past. I'm 68, retired, and on a limited income, so I still do yard work and snow removal myself. The first picture looking down the street is to give you an idea of how much snow would be pushed down the street. And we did receive pictures showing.
But then there's more text at the very last.
All of this. Oh, there it is. Next picture would be 4 Raleigh Street, and then 3 Raleigh Street. And again, the picture. Then this picture is looking from my driveway at 3 Raleigh Street, looking across where he's in.
Yeah,
And these are really just the intros to each of these.
Go to the very last page.
And then the last page.
Yeah.
So with all this said, I highly suggest this to be allowed to happen. Now for the second part about the sauna. I'm an outdoor enthusiast who believes in keeping our wetlands and forests safe and clean. We have zoning codes to enforce to keep these areas pristine, which has me confused why the city is allowing this hearing for a special exception to place a sauna because of existing pad. Well, like the shed, 4 Raleigh Street is previously put a sauna in that spot again without any regards to zoning codes. I object to this as well, being an outdoor enthusiast. Thank you for allowing me to express my thoughts and concerns with this issue. I truly hope that if everything at all is to not allow the exception for shed placement due to the long-term impact it will have on me. And those are the only comments we've received. Would you like to respond? It's, I mean, if you're going to speak, both of you have the same 5 minutes, so you might as well share it now.
I had included a picture in my original packet too,
Yes.
although it's kind of hard to see. I don't know what those metal pylon things are called.
Wallace at the end of our street is a walking tree. They pushed the snow so far down that street that those walls are folded over. So they clearly passed, and that plow truck is probably 12 feet, and if I look at the street, it's probably 20-something wide. They literally take that street and split it half together. So they come down this side, they back all the way back up to Main Street, they move over, and they come down our side. They don't, take sides and say, okay, well, we're gonna put more on Mr. Covey's side, because I had a 20-year-old shed. I always had to clear the snow, whether he gets the shit side of it or I don't. I don't understand that, that's kind of odd. And we've never had a problem with this gentleman. When I come walk his view to the river, and he is an outdoor guy, we get it, we offer him to come in our yard, launch a kayak, all that stuff. So I don't understand that part about the snow removal at all. It doesn't bother. The trash truck never has a problem, and the plow guy always pushes the snow the same distance down that street since we lived there. He can't stop any further, he just doesn't do it. As he goes down, his plow rises, and he buries those balls at the very end of the wood line. So the plow, the snow thing is, I think it's a little excessive. I think he is old, he's retired, and he doesn't like snow. We get the same amount on the left side as he gets on the right, so that's kind of, I don't understand that, but that's all I want to touch on. And the boat, it might be on Marketplace if you're interested. It's not making gas. It's when wrapped for the winter, it's unwrapped now because people are going to be viewing it. And if I have to move it to the other side, I will. But again, I'm going to move it from one buffer zone to another one. So that's another thing I kind of, is worst case, I could put it out in the street while I'm selling it, on the pavement, but I don't want it on the road. So I don't know what I'm gonna do yet about that. I did tell them I wouldn't relocate it or sell it. So that's another thing that I was misled by the comment of the folks that were great. And where they want us to put a shed is I'm actually bothering more root beds by moving the shed from where I proposed it originally, by putting it on this side of my house with a power line above it now, with a tree that I have to trim half of because it sits on her property. Versus me putting it on a dead-end street, it doesn't affect that gentleman whatsoever across the street. He's never said a word to me about this till this letter came, and, he found out.
Sir, can you speak to the mic, though? I think it might be picking you up, but I don't know if it is.
She's the better talker, I just wanted to.
I was also reminded that we neglected to ask you for your name and address.
Joe O'Brien, 4 Raleigh Street.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, for your time.
Yeah, I think he summed it up. My only thing about the snow is they plow like the circle in our neighborhood, but they wait for the dead-end roads. And often when they plow, it is a huge snowbank. Has nothing to do with the shed or the tent garage. It's just a lot of snow that they plow down our road. So we have to clean it just as well as he would have to clean it. I don't believe the shed in any way affects the snow removal at all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. McCara?
Hang on.
Yes. A question. Sorry.
So just to follow up on the Concom's recommendation that they wanted to switch a set to the other side
Yeah.
of the driveway, which would be the same distance from the street that you proposing now, right?
It would be further back from the street, but it would be closer to, into the wetland area.
Right, so how far?
It would be directly next to my neighbor's shed, like right on the property.
So that's, I just want to reference that real quick. That's a little further back. That's probably like lining up with the backside of your house?
I can show you.
The part of the application?
Yeah,
we have the.
I was hoping you would approve the west side,
We have
but
the-
if not, I wrote up an application for the east side, which has a new plot plan and the picture from the map from the website. So it's, yeah.
Yep. I'd like to see what
Show
the
them the
alternative
last two
was.
pages of that.
Did you guys want to see it? So that would be your alternate location, would be the shed would be kind of starting with, in line with the front edge of your house?
Yes.
And that would be the second preferred location. Basically, you wouldn't want to push it any further back. That would be where you'd want it.
It couldn't go, so if it's on the west side,
Yeah.
where I want it, it's like 5 feet back from
I
the road
understand,
because
yeah.
of the tree. If it's on the east side, it's gonna be parallel to my driveway.
Right.
Close to the neighbor's property.
Right. And I guess what I'm asking you is, I'm trying to remember, I did go down your street again today, because I wanted to actually see down the side of your
Yeah.
house. I'm trying to remember if there was any, was there a tree there or not?
There's
or-
2 trees. There's
Right.
1 tree on my property
Right.
and 1 tree
Right.
on
So you can't get
Raleigh.
it, you can't get it closer back to that cement pad than this?
No, it goes down
Right,
into the
right.
backyard.
That's-
That's
yeah,
where they
right.
want me to plant the erosion
Okay,
plants.
Okay, all right. Do you want to take a look at this? Okay, so I just wanted to understand, when we go in deliberations, you know, I know what your application is, and that's something different, but I just need to understand where we're at.
Any other questions from the board? If not, we're going to close the public hearing and open up the deliberations of the board. Thoughts from the board?
So.
Go for it, Mr. Boucher.
So no matter what happens to this piece of property, you know, I think it was kind of really put well. Again, we understand contamination of wetlands area, and so, you know, like wherever you park the boat or wherever you park the car, on this piece of property, it could be viewed as a potential hazard, right? In a way, you know, in some respects. So I'm just laying out the fact that I don't think there's an ideal location for anything here. So I'm trying to understand the reasoning behind the Concom's recommendation of moving the shed to the other side. From the proposed location to putting it next to the driveway on the other side.
So I'm just going to, if I could just jump in on that, I think the only relevance of that is as it may relate to the criteria for granting the variance or the special exception, in that one could argue there's a reasonable alternative. But I don't believe that we can decide that the shed should be relocated to that side of the property, because that's not how it was advertised. That's not the case that was submitted.
So and you're making, I guess, making my point is that, you know, we rely on some of this information, but in this case, I don't see any detriment to having the shed located where it's being proposed on this property, because, again, because of what the lot is, because it's a dead end, because there was an existing temporary garage there for many years, that existed for many years. Moving it, and again, I'm not proposing to move it, and that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that there is no alternative to this, this application that would deem it, that they could do this without having to have an application. So no matter where they're going to put the shed on this property, it's going to be an issue. So I'm looking at it as the way it was advertised, and going to respectfully ignore the Concom's recommendation or their idea to move it to the other side. And I'm just going to look at it as it advertised. So with that, I don't think, again, it's unreasonable for somebody to have a shed. It is unique to have the shed kind of like in the front yard in this situation, but because, again, the uniqueness of the property, where it's located, what the property is sitting on and how it's situated and right next to the river, I don't think there's really a better, I don't think there's anything that's better for this property, if that's making sense to you. So with that, I'll leave it at that.
Mr. Shaw?
Yeah, the Concom said the reason they wanted to do it was they just simply said if it was moved on the west side of the property to the east side to be further away from the edge of the wetland. But, when you look at this, it probably comes down to a few feet if it's not something significant. And then I think you made a really good point in there that, this isn't even what, even though the Concom's saying this, it's not what's advertised, it's not proposed, so it's not really a viable thing for us to consider. So I think it ends up being kind of a moot point ultimately. So I guess I feel in support of this. I think it is a very unique property. I think, the entire property is within the wetland buffer. And, at first when I just saw like a shed basically right, basically sitting on the front, property line, I was like, well, that's like, and now it makes sense. But like just, kind of on paper, I was like, this, like, I don't see how this works. But now it makes a lot of sense and why. I think there's a lot of existing use that's been there. I don't think there's any great alternatives like I think you were trying to really get at, Mr. Boucher. So I think ultimately it's just, I think the requests are reasonable, they're not excessive, and they're actually consistent with the way the property's been used for quite some period of time, especially the pad where the sauna is proposed. I mean, that's clearly, seems like it's probably a multi-decade item. It's not quite as clear, and I don't know if it was said, but, even that original structure that was there where the proposed shed is at the front, I think it's been there for quite some time. So, yeah, I think ultimately, I just don't think there's any, these are reasonable requests, they're not excessive, and I don't think there's any compelling other ways to do this other than what's been proposed. So, yeah,
Any other thoughts?
In case you guys wanted to see that.
Anybody want to make a motion? I'll take a stab.
Special exception and variance.
Right, so this is a special exception for in a variance, and although I wasn't thinking that it made sense previously, I think that I'm just going to take a stab at this as one motion, because you can't do any of this without needing a special exception and a variance. So, just kind of taking it all together, I'd like to make a motion that the application of Heidi St. Hilaire at 4 Rowley Street, requesting the following: a special exception from Land Use Code Section 190-112 to work in the 75-foot prime wetland buffer of the Nassau River, to place a 10-by-20 shed in front of the property, and a 6-by-10 sauna in the left rear side of the property on an existing cement pad. And 2, a variance from Land Use Code Section 190-31 to encroach 18 feet into the 20-foot required front yard setback for a 10-by-20 shed. And 3, a variance from Land Use Code Section 190-31 to encroach 2 feet into the 6-foot required left yard setback to install a sauna. First, starting with the variance criteria, we find that granting the variance would not be contrary to the public interest, because it would not adversely impact the public health, safety, or welfare. We do note that we did have a letter from an abutter asserting that it would impact snow removal, and it also appears snow removal may be just generally, the snow plowing may be an issue in the area directly, but I think from testimony from the applicant and the fact that the proposed shed is entirely on the applicant's property, we don't find that there would be an adverse impact to the public. and there would not be, any significant change to the character of the neighborhood. This is a shed. Sheds are not uncommon, and this is a dead-end street, which is really not going to impact anybody, again, other than one or two abutters. We found that the spirit of the ordinance would be observed for the reasons previously stated, and also because of the setbacks are there to help avoid overcrowding and to help protect open space, spacing between buildings and homes. In this case, there really is no reasonable alternative. The setback at issue is from a dead-end road where there's, again, really very little impact to anyone else. Granting the variance would do substantial justice because it would allow reasonable use of the property. A shed is, as we have said before, is a very typical use in this part of the country. Granted, a sauna is perhaps less so, but the pad that's being utilized is an existing pad, so there really is no further encroachment on that side. We have no evidence or testimony that surrounding property values would be impacted. Again, we had some concern related to the snow plowing, but not to the impact of the property. And we do find that owing to special conditions of the property to distinguish from other properties in the area, the denial of the variance would result in unnecessary hardship. I think, as we've noted, this is really quite the unique property, just given its location on the Nashua River, its size, its location on a dead-end street, and most notably, the fact that there really is nothing that you could do on this property without being within a wetland buffer or within a setback. Therefore, there's no fair and substantial relationship with the general purpose of the ordinance and its application specifically to this property. And it has also been noted that the proposed uses are reasonable uses. So I'm going to move on now from that to the special exception criteria. The requested use is listed in the use matrix, section 190-15. What's being proposed here is a shed, which is a permitted accessory use, and the sauna presumably is also a permitted accessory use. The requested use will not create undue traffic congestion or unduly impair pedestrian safety. There's been no testimony that it would, although again, we've had concern expressed over the snow plowing. The requested use would not overload any public water, drainage, sewer system, or other municipal system. In fact, they would be unlikely to at all. And, subject any area, the area of the city to hazards affecting the health, safety, or general welfare of the public. The special regulations set forth are fulfilled, which I will go over in a moment, and the requested use will not impair the integrity or be out of character with the district or immediate neighborhood which is located, nor be detrimental to the health, morals, or welfare of the residents of the city. And once again, we spoke to those issues in the variance criteria. Going to the special conditions, the use or activity proposed and its attendant impacts cannot be reasonably avoided. I think, as we previously noted, virtually this entire property is within a wetland buffer area. The least damaging route and methodology have been selected. That which is being proposed is the best practical alternative. We did have testimony by way of the Conservation Commission's letter, and we also discussed an alternative location for the shed, but that alternative location is also within the wetland buffer area. That reasonable acceptable impact mitigation measures have been incorporated where necessary and appropriate to minimize the loss or degradation, and I'll get to that as when we bring up a condition. I'm going to bring up a potential condition of approval. That the overall impact of encroaching into the wetland or buffer area is necessary for the productive use of the adjoining buildable land, and that as such, non-encroachment is outweighed by the benefits thereby derived. And, once again, the uses that are proposed are reasonable, and there really is no place to put them that is not impacting on a buffer. No significant impact on habitat of rare endangered species or exemplary communities will result. No testimony that would be true, and I think just looking at it visually pretty clearly, this is a residential lot. It's not a conservation area. and that the best available adequate erosion and sedimentation control methods are incorporated, that the proposed activity shall not significantly impair wetland capacity to provide important wildlife and fishery functions, et cetera, that the project will not impair the stability of the water body's bank. It won't be adjacent to the bank in any way, and the wetland buffer function, et cetera, will not be impaired. And I would just like to add one condition to that, and that is the condition recommended by the Conservation Commission that they provide a landscape plan to the Conservation Commission to include 3 rows of native shrubs on the east side of the property behind the newly, well, they say the newly recommended shed location, but I think we understand the shed location, and the ground cover on the slope leading to the backyard to reduce runoff and erosion. And that, I think, addresses criteria number 3, acceptable mitigation impacts. So with that, I'd like to make a motion that the application be approved. Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Shaw. Discussion. All those in favor? And your multiple requests pass unanimously. Although, of course, once again, if you didn't hear previously, there is a 30-day window of appeal where somebody could file for a motion for reconsideration, so just be mindful of that. But you are free to proceed with your project.
So, see, we have the shed that we delivered, can we make that call now? Sorry, we have to wait, so that's sitting on, we want to charge like a storage fee for we to get delivery now?
You'll want to speak with, probably Mr. Falk as a follow-up, but my understanding is yes, you're free to proceed at your own risk. And finally, we have the application of Silver Lining Development LLC, 16 East Glenwood Street and L. Linton Street, requesting a special exception from Land Use Code Section 190-112 to impact approximately 6,500 square feet of wetland buffer area to construct a private shared driveway off Linton Street, along with associated site improvements for the future construction of 3 single-family residential lots. This is in the RA zone in Ward 7.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, good evening. My name is Andy Perlman, attorney with Prunier and Perlman here in Nashua. And I just have a brief introduction because Ethan Beals, our project engineer, is going to lead most of the discussion. I'm here on behalf of Silver Lining Development for the Wetland Special Exception tonight. Silver Lining Development is the owner and applicant. We were here before you back in July, where you folks were gracious enough to grant 12 dimensional variances for an oddball shape of lots based upon an old plan from the 1920s. But we proceeded from that approval to Concom. We had an initial meeting with Concom. We had a site walk on October 20th, and we had our meeting with Concom on November 5th. You have the letter, it was a 4-3 vote for an unfavorable recommendation to this board, and we know we have that recommendation before you. But we believe that we meet the special exception criteria. If you look at that vote, there are 6 stipulations, and I will tell you that you don't really get into stipulation discussions unless things are going your way. And so we thought we had this squared away with Concom, and then at the final minute, we had a 4-3 vote, but we do have stipulations. They recognize that this application, could go forward. But we have a couple points to make with you. Ethan's going to run through the other criteria, but at the outset, we want you to know that we did our best with Concom. We tried to address every question, every issue that they raised with us at the first meeting, at their site walk, and we gave them everything we wanted. We want you to know that the wetland being, the buffer being impacted is not a pristine wetland. It's already been disturbed because there's a sewer line where the wetland is. So there's no vernal pool, there's nothing pristine about this. This has been disturbed previously. It's not a high-quality wetland by any means, and we believe we meet the special exception criteria. So we're hoping for a favorable vote tonight on the special exception. Should this go forward, this plan still has many steps to go. We have, because we have certainly a planning board, but because we have a paper street right-of-way. We have to go through the Board of Public Works and the Board of Aldermen process to work out a private driveway for that. So there are many more steps to go in this process. This is one of many, and we believe we have the criteria addressed for the board's consideration. So with that, I'll have Ethan take over. Thank you.
Yes, we have a question?
Attorney Perlman. If memory serves me correct, wasn't the big concern of the neighbors last time just the amount of runoff? It had nothing to do with disturbed wetlands or any potential animals. It was just about getting flooded out downstream, right?
That was a concern. That was a concern raised with Concom. That was a concern raised with neighbors. I'm not an engineer, but the plan, I've been around enough plans to know that I believe this plan is going to work. We've removed all impervious pavement. We have porous pavement proposed that actually improves the situation that's there today. So we're taking every step we can think of to address the runoff, the wetland concerns.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, Ethan Beals, project manager of Hayner Swanson, doing business at 3 Congress Street here in Nashua, New Hampshire. Attorney Perlman did a good job kind of stealing my thunder, but I'll go into a little bit more detail, and I'm going to walk kind of step by step through those packets that I had sent out earlier. As he mentioned, we originally met with the Conservation Commission 3 times. Their initial primer meeting on October 7th, the site walk on October 20th, and our final meeting on November 5th. At each of the 3 meetings, we took input from the commission on what they thought, or how they thought we could improve our project, and really tried to respond and answer any question that they may have. Again, I'm going to walk kind of step by step. I did my best to break it out into separate figures, and I'll try to explain what some of those pieces are in your packet. The very first one in your handout today is a revised special exception application and the associated criteria. In response to feedback and suggestions from the Conservation Commission, we actually updated the project's design from the original design and therefore needed to submit a slightly revised and reduced application. Figure A in your packets is the updated wetland buffer impact that goes along with that revised special exception application. The updated design contemplates a shared driveway / the Linton Road extension as porous pavement. We've relocated the car turnaround and other small impervious areas so that there is now no impervious surface or paved surface located within the buffer. We've also regraded and pulled back the slope to remove the previously proposed retaining wall that was located in the buffer area. And as a result, we've slightly reduced the buffer impact by about 450 square feet, bringing the new total buffer impact to 6,050 instead of the 6,500 that was originally proposed. Most importantly, we are still not proposing any direct wetland impacts. Second, if we can flip to figure B, or if you don't want to follow around with me, that's okay as well. Of the proposed 6,050 square foot of buffer impact, it's important to note that about 3,200 square feet of that today, or about 53%, is currently disturbed and maintained as either yard area or as part of the sewer easement that is currently bisects this portion of the property. Additionally, another 1,777 square feet fall within that same sewer easement, with the city, of course, having rights to maintain in that sewer easement if they ever needed to replace that sewer. In other words, out of our proposed 6,050 square foot of buffer impact, approximately 4,977, or 82% of it, is either currently disturbed or falls within that existing sewer city easement. Next, figures C, D, and E, and I'll take them together. Figure C is a stormwater summary where I summarized portions of the stormwater management study that was prepared for this project, and figures D and E are the associated drainage maps that go along with it. As previously mentioned, in our original presentation to this board, there was a lot of questions regarding stormwater management. At that time, the project was in a very preliminary stage, and we hadn't done a deep dive in the stormwater management. We have now, and I also know that the board has received some public comment tonight over email regarding stormwater management, and this was also something that was discussed extensively with the Conservation Commission. In addition to our subject properties, a good portion of the Linton Street block generally flows in a westward direction across our subject property and into the low-lying wetlands along our westerly property boundary. Figure D shows the limit of this existing drainage area, which measures about 2.93 acres in size, of which about 0.6 of it is impervious, so roadway, driveway, roofs, etc. This drainage pattern does not today contain any formal qualitative or quantitative treatment practices. As a matter of fact, if you visited this area of the site, you would notice that runoff flows down Linton Street, it channelizes, and is actually causing some active erosion along the slope at the very end of Linton Street. The updated design contemplates a shared driveway be constructed of porous pavement. Figure E shows the post-development drainage pattern, including the drainage area that will now receive stormwater treatment, which is outlined in red. That totals approximately 2.16 of the previously mentioned 2.9 acre drainage area. So we're providing treatment for about 2.2 out of the 2.9 acre drainage pattern that flows in this direction. Porous pavement is a qualified best management practice, or BMP, that provides treatment of runoff through the use of filter media and the infiltration of runoff back into the ground. Using this practice and outlined in Table 1 of Figure C of the stormwater summary, we demonstrate that significant reductions in peak rates of runoff leaving not only our site but the larger portion of Linton Street and flowing into the wetland when comparing the post-development condition to the pre-development condition. So we're demonstrating reductions in peak rates of runoff compared to the existing condition today once constructed. The end of the stormwater summary also includes some detailed information that demonstrates that porous pavement actually provides better pollutant removal or qualitative treatment of runoff than a vegetated buffer strip or a wetland buffer. It is our professional opinion that the proposed project provides significant stormwater management improvements when compared to the existing condition today by providing both formal quantitative and qualitative treatment of runoff, including treatment of runoff from a portion of Linton Street that currently flows untreated to the wetland. A lot of the conversation with the Concom at the site walk also revolved around the maintenance of that shared driveway and if there's any way to prevent a future homeowner from negatively impacting the stormwater management practices. In response to this comment, Attorney Perlman did provide a draft easement, and that is Figure F in your packet today, that will be recorded along with the property. This easement provides and requires ongoing maintenance and maintenance recommendations for the porous pavement, leach and catch basins, and associated drainage. It also includes violation language and requirements regarding the replacement of these areas if it is ever needed. Finally, Figure G is the wetland field report provided by the project's certified wetland scientists. I'll direct you to the second page, which has his conclusion on it, but I'll quote directly from it. Provided appropriate best management practices are implemented during construction and site stabilization is maintained over the long term, there should be no adverse impact to the adjacent wetland resource area. I'll conclude my presentation by mentioning, and as Attorney Perlman did earlier, we did agree to several items with the Conservation Commission, despite the negative recommendation that were issued by the Concom as stipulations. They included items like revegetation, removal of invasive species, and ongoing maintenance, all of which were agreeable to our clients. At this time, I'm going to turn it back over to Attorney Perlman for some of his final remarks.
Thank you very much. Happy Thanksgiving. I didn't have anything further. So, again, we believe that we, notwithstanding the negative recommendation, we believe that we've met the criteria for the special exception. So we are hoping for a favorable vote tonight. And thank you.
Questions from the board? Mr. Neely.
A couple questions. So, when you were at the Concom, during their discussion, what led to the unfavorable vote?
In my opinion, I didn't think they liked the number of trees being cut down in or out of the buffer. And, you know, we try and play nice, we kind of bite our tongue, but it would not be out of line for us to say, anything outside the buffer is not your jurisdiction. But I don't think they like the number of trees coming down with this project.
Okay, that's fair. A couple more questions.
Yes.
Have you presented this to the neighbors? And the reason I ask, when you first came before us, we had quite a few people out here, and I am surprised there was absolutely nobody here, I assume, to speak against it. So what have you done to do some outreach to the neighborhood to ensure that they're happier with this plan than what we originally saw?
Likewise, so I don't think we had anyone at Concom for this. So we haven't, to be perfectly honest, we have not done any additional reach out to the neighbor. I happen to be personal friends with the immediate neighbor on Linton, so I've been keeping them up to date on the project, but we have not done any
additional reach out to any of the other neighbors on Glenwood or anywhere else around.
Okay. And last question, and I apologize, Ethan, this is a lot to absorb. It looks to me that at no point, there's nothing really we could do with those 3 lots that we will not be in the buffer zone. Is that a fair statement?
I think that's a fair statement. Lot 259 is an existing lot of record, and then, of course, we're proposing a subdivision of Lot 187. There is some decent topography. If I don't know if anyone had visited the site, but if you visited the end of Linton Street, you'll see it falls off pretty quickly. And effectively, what we're proposing is to just slide that slope out a little bit. And in order to do so without a pretty excessive retaining wall, you're going to be working within that buffer. Even if you were to construct even a 10-foot retaining wall, to do so, you're going to likely be impacting that buffer. And as both Attorney Perlman and I had mentioned, there's an existing sewer easement and cross-country sewer main, which services the elementary school, Sunset Heights Elementary School, that runs directly through this buffer, and part of the buffer work is that.
So I didn't tell the truth. I have one last question. So it looks to me the end product with the 3 dwellings, none of those dwellings will be in the buffer. They'll just basically be their yards, correct?
Yeah, that is correct. So again, to reiterate a quick point, and again, I apologize for throwing so much in such a detailed packet. I did my best to try to outline the different figures and walk through it. Part of the feedback, and part of it was in our initial plan, don't get me wrong, but we worked pretty hard to push every bit of pavement, pervious or impervious, including building rooftops, including all of that, and get that directly outside the buffer. So to answer your question, yes, you're correct. There is no pervious or impervious surfaces, pervious pavement or impervious pavement, or rooftops that are in the buffer area.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
If not, is there anybody in the audience who wishes to speak in favor of the application? Is there anybody in the audience with questions, concerns, or opposition to the application? All right, seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing. And I take it back. We do have a letter. We do have a letter from one of the abutters, Mark Connolly, at 36 East Glenwood Street, to whom it may concern. Due to conflicts with my schedule, I cannot make the meeting on Tuesday, 11/25/25. The changes sought to the special exception for the buffer area to create a shared driveway on Linton Street and East Glenwood Street seem to me and to any reasonable person that they will impact the drainage and runoff and possible increased flooding in the area of East Glenwood Street. Sections of East Glenwood Street have been flooded in times of high rains, and I believe that it will get worse with this development. In addition, where will the snow from Linton Street be pushed after snowstorms, and where will that melt? I have little faith that anything the neighbors say to the zoning or planning boards will be listened to, since after the last meeting with the planning board, it was clearly a predetermined outcome and was rubber stamped with their approval. Thank you for reading this comment, Mark Connolly. Would you like to respond? Only if you wish.
Again, to reiterate just a quick stormwater point, after our very first meeting, understanding the concerns of several neighbors that you had mentioned, Mr. Neely, we've now had the opportunity to do a detailed stormwater management analysis of not only our properties, but a good chunk of the abutting neighborhood. And the numbers that were submitted to the planning board as part of our stormwater management report and summarized in your packets today show a clear, in our professional opinion, a clear improvement both on the quantity and the quality of stormwater reaching that wetland that will be that will result from our proposed project. In terms of snow, that is an ongoing element that we need to work out with the operations of the city. There's going to be there's a lot of nuances when you build a shared driveway on city right-of-way land, and there's a reason that we're building a shared driveway that the city has communicated to us. We don't want more public roadway to have to maintain, and so by doing it as a shared driveway, we own that maintenance. We own the maintenance of the stormwater. We own the plowing. We own all of that in our piece. We do have to work out and have further conversations with city DPW about exactly how they pave that today, how they would see that going forward, and how we can work with them as a partner. As Attorney Perlman mentioned, we're still early in this project. There's a lot more steps to go that are kind of atypical for a smaller size development like this, but we're committed and have had multiple conversations already with City DPW, but there's still many to go.
Thank you. Questions from the board? All right, seeing none, now I'll close the public hearing and open up deliberations from the board. Thoughts from the board? Mr. Leno?
It seems that they've done an exemplary job of addressing the concerns and redesigned the proposal to address what we were asking about and what the neighbors were asking about, so I'm in favor.
Other thoughts? Mr. Shaw?
Yeah, I'm in support, and I feel like this is ultimately one of those that I believe by them doing this work, that it's actually going to be an overall net positive for all these folks that did come and expressed all these concerns. I think it seems to be a very good outcome overall will result from this effort. And I mean, I also applaud the applicant and the work that they've done to get this project to this point, because it seems that, there's obviously been a lot of challenges to this for, just a lot of logistical type things, but then when it really comes to this kind of some of this hard engineering, I think there's been some very good work done. So I think bottom line, I think it looks like it will be a net positive, and I'm in support.
Mr. Neely?
When I think back to the first time they came before us, I mean, we all did a site visit. There's quite a drop off there, but these folks need to have the ability to develop their land, and I think that this plan has gone above and beyond. Really, and that's why I asked Attorney Perlman, because he was there at Concon, like, what was the real discussion? Because I didn't watch the tapes. I read the transcripts, and that's why I wanted to hear really what they were talking about. Trees have to come down. I mean, it is what it is. Our biggest concern before was the flooding. They've done a good job to keep the permanent houses out of the houses themselves out of the buffer zone. I'll be honest, I'm one of the toughest critics when it comes to wetland buffer zones. Like, I want you to get in, get out, do whatever you got to do. Let's not touch them if we don't need to. But I think the net end product of this, as these gentlemen were talking about, is better, because when you drive by there is erosion going on. There's some bad stuff going on. And quite frankly, the snowplow drivers will figure it out. They're professionals. They do it every year. They'll figure out the place to put the snow. I know we've seen now multiple cases where people have commented on the snow removal, but Nashua snowplow drivers know what they're doing. They'll get it figured out. So I'm in favor.
And I agree. Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Mr. Boucher?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the special exception for Silver Lining Development, LLC owner 16 East Glenwood Street and L. Linton Street, sheet 129, lots 187 and 259, requesting a special exception from Land Use Code, section 190-112, to impact approximately 6,500 square feet of wetland buffer area to construct a private shared driveway off of Linton Street, along with the associated site improvements for the future construction of 3 single-family residential lots. It's in the RA zone, Ward 7. We find that the requested use is listed as a special exception in the use matrix. The requested use will not create undue traffic congestion or unduly impair pedestrian safety. We find that the requested use will not overload any public water drainage or sewer system or any other municipal system to such an extent that the requested use or any developed use in the immediate area or in any other area of the city will be unduly subjected to hazards affecting health, safety, or the general welfare. The wetlands special conditions, the 9 criteria have been met. The requested use will not impair the integrity of the character with the district or immediate neighborhood in which it's located, nor be detrimental to health, morals, or welfare of the residents of the city. Also, there was a meeting on November 12th with the Concom. Even though they recommend an unfavorable recommendation, this motion is to approve this application, and we will put as a special, the additional stipulations. There are 6 that was listed in the letter. We are going to adopt those as part of the approval of this special exception. So with that, I make a motion to approve the special exception.
Is there a second? Seconded by Mr. Shaw. Any discussion? All those in favor? You're welcome. All right, so moving on to other business. Has everyone had a chance to review the agenda for the next meeting?
Yes.
Does anybody see any regional impact? I do not either.
Could I ask, though, about the last item on there? About the public meeting only for 36 Granite Street and the HAB and all that? So,
Yes. The HAB did not like the response from the board. So they want the board to go back to their original, to their original order and address that. So I think it's being more clear on the points of law.
How many times are we going to do this?
apparently one more
We,
at least.
one more time. We can talk about it afterwards, but that's, our understanding is they want you to go back to the original hearing. We believe we put together a package with their order and the minutes and the case information from the last time it went. And I thought it was all clear in the first place myself. I think all of our staff did.
I mean, there was nothing in the HAB's order that said we had to restrict ourselves to whatever the new points were. I mean, it seemed like we could, from my read of the order, it seemed like we could do kind of a de novo review, but obviously the court disagrees.
They disagreed with that, and they thought that was erroneous, and we should not have done that. But that was our direction from.
Correct. Right.
So that's why we did that way. And Mr. Durfee had a proposed recommendation, whether to have the board deny it or support it. Solely up to the board, nothing to do with staff at all, because that was kind of blamed us. And the court also felt that Mr. Durfee gave you the letter, you considered it, you didn't even have to consider it, but you considered it, and you made your recommendation. Solely the board did it, nothing to do with staff. So they were okay with that. I think they want to go over the reason why it came there in the first place. But I read through the whole thing. I thought the motions were all very clear, very detailed, but.
Yeah, I mean, I read through it also. It just seems to me, I mean,
I don't know
just to
why it's
editorialize it, although I probably shouldn't, that it seems like a waste of time for everybody concerned. But nevertheless, it is what we need to do.
Yes.
And so I think we would, we just need to read the minutes. My view is it's based strictly on the record, and that's that.
Because this is only a public meeting.
Only public
There's no
hearing,
hearing.
so there's no
testimony,
public
so-
hearing, we didn't advertise,
Yeah.
the abutters were notified, it won't be in the paper, other than that little blurb at the end of the agenda.
Right.
So there won't be anybody here that can speak in favor of it or against it, on either side, because there's quite a bit of opposition, so it's just the board.
But then we come up with, our
More clear.
amended findings, and then that's appealable, so.
Still, right.
Right.
So
It's
That's
just-
all we can do.
Can you send us, and this goes back so far, can you, so if somebody could find the YouTube and just send us the link so we can watch it again or something? Because we,
Which one?
either one, any of them.
A lot of them.
I get it,
No.
I get it, but the point,
Our
probably
files
the,
on this-
probably the first one is, because this goes back to the first one, right?
No.
No, only from September of 2023. And then it was about a year later, in 2024, by the time the city got the order back from the HAB, it was about, I think, October of 24.
Okay.
And I was out for those few
Right.
months.
See what happens when you go away?
Sorry? I
See
know.
what
I
happens?
know.
Yeah. So somebody's gonna send us something so we can.
I'll see if I can find
watch
some
it
kind of a
or
YouTube
read
link. I
it.
mean, it may be if you go into YouTube, you can do city.
I get it, just give us the dates, whatever the dates are, so we can
I'll give you all the
find it
dates.
that way.
I'll see what I can.
Yeah.
do.
It does reference this 9/26/23
Yeah.
date, so that might
Okay.
be the place to start.
And so are we only gonna look at the 9/26/23 and disregard the 24?
the 24 was where they objected to the decision that we made, so.
But then we had reopened the whole thing again. That's what he objected to.
I think, well, I'd have to look back at it to remind myself of which the
Yeah,
dates are,
yeah,
but they are referenced in.
Okay.
I've read that
Yes, in
order
the
about
order.
6 or 7 times, and I'd have to read it another 6 or 7 times to maybe understand it, because it's not very clear.
Okay.
Right.
I don't think it was very clear in the very first order was very clear.
No.
At
So
all.
that's how I read, and I read it pretty narrowly. I read it to say, we have to go and make a decision based on the record. So.
Based on.
The record's the minutes, in my view,
Yeah.
so.
Okay. We have a little bit of a stack for everybody's reading pleasure. Release this before the Christmas break, so it'll be, hopefully, it is what it is. Just leave it at that.
I'm not quite sure the tie-in there, but.
And
I'm not gonna say any more about it.
When it comes to the next agenda, so we're not gonna push back the DPW building, right?
They have to request that.
They have to send something to us in writing, otherwise we can't go on. Someone saying that, we have to get something in writing.
The expectation is it won't be till at least the second meeting in January now, based on what was said, but it's unofficial right now.
There's still a lot of information that they need to come up with, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it has to go to it may have to go to the fire commissioners, it may have to go to the Board of Public Works. There may be other people involved, if there's funds and money involved, maybe additional.
Reasonable to assume, though, that that item will not be on the agenda.
So we will probably not have the maintenance garage the next meeting, probably not.
Yeah.
So that just gives us more time to chat.
We have more time for Kratos.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. My little question turned out to be a lot more than I was expecting, forgetting about.
So now, on to the minutes.
I had just a couple of typos. Page 7, the paragraph that starts with Andrew Piper, line 1 and 2. The last word of the third line, place, I think, should be space. And then 1, 2, 3, 4 lines down from that, there's an extra comma after yard. And then the only other one I found is page 8, where it says end of public hearing, line 1, 2, 3. Line 4 should start with R instead of is. That's it.
Anybody else have any changes?
No.
Seeing none, can we get a motion on the minutes?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Lionel, second? Seconded by Mr. Neely. All those in favor? Is there any other business that we have this evening? Do not think so. Seeing none, then a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Shaw.
37.
We have a second on that motion. Seconded by Mr. Neely. And we are adjourned.
Hold on to your stuff.
I'm
Yeah, hold
digging.
on.